Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne-Hayes. Here. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor Linehan. Here. Councilor McDonald. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Seca. Here. Councilor Simonelli. Here. Councilor Spatafora. Here. Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Murphy.
Here. Okay. The first order of business. Okay. Oh, yes, thank you. Under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those in attendance, please be informed that UMA will be taping this session, and there will be both audio and video recording. First order of business, please.
Representatives from Urban Media Arts will appear before the City Council to present their Who is Malden Film Builder program.
Welcome. If you'll come up to the podium, please, and please state your names.
My name is Osa Schwab.
My name is Karen Alzire.
My name is Tom Flint.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here this evening, and we're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much, Madam President of the Council and members of the City Council of Malden and the audience. We thank you for being here this evening to listen to this presentation on the film building Malden, Our City in Motion. My name is Osa Schwab. I'm Director of Marketing at Urban Media Arts, and I'm also the project lead for this program. And I'm delighted to share a little bit about this program tonight, also give you a taste of the potential impact it may have on our city. Before we get started with the presentation, I want to acknowledge that the ARPA subcommittee for recreation had the astuteness to imagine that our city would need to recover from a pandemic and regain a sense of togetherness and hope. And they invested in this program, and for that we're very grateful. And we do want to offer a great return on their investment, your investment, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the presentation. I will say one thing, however, that one of the things that will come out of this program, it will inspire imagination. And imagination is absolutely essential to have hope. Hope for yourself, hope for your community, and hope for the place where you live.
Thank you, Osa. I don't know how you did that without looking down at a script, because I've got mine right here. Hello, City Councilors. So Film Building Malden is a community-wide project aimed at connecting the people, places, and stories in Malden through discovery-based filmmaking. Community residents, also known as film builders, will team up across differences to co-create short films that explore the theme, Who is Malden? They'll be mentored by professional filmmakers who are now being interviewed as they go through the entire filmmaking process, exploring Malden and its people with their smartphone cameras, capturing and highlighting unique aspects and stories of our community. All this work is going to result in 6 completely original short films that will be premiered at different sites around the city towards the end of the summer. The goal with these public screening events is to activate carefully chosen locations in Malden. Green spaces, parking lots, cafes, these types of places, and inspire audiences to explore new ways to engage with their community through panel discussions, innovative city maps, and other opportunities for cross-sector and cross-cultural dialogue. A final community-wide event will be held in the fall to celebrate the success of the project and provide further opportunities for meaningful connections. Okay. As part of our contract with the city, we're going to be documenting the project and providing a full-scale report of its impact and learnings with the hope of having it ripple out beyond Malden. It's worth noting that nothing like this has ever really been done before. So we feel as long as Film Building Malden is marketed, executed, and publicized successfully, it has every possibility of establishing Malden as a truly innovative arts and culture leader in all of New England. I mean, never before has the moving image, film, been used to develop these kinds of important community connections in such a co-creative way through both making and responding to films through the screenings. We're really excited about this project for so many reasons. Apart from the generous financial backing we've received from the project, from the city's ARPA funds, as Osa had mentioned, we've also partnered with organizations and individuals that are as enthusiastic about this project as we are. Our Film Building Malden orientation, which is actually set to kick off the project on May 20th here in Malden, is going to be facilitated by Essential Partners, which is a Cambridge-based organization that specializes in strengthening relationships and deepening belonging among people in their communities. So we're really excited about working with them. We've had numerous opportunities to see what collaborative visual storytelling can do to empower people with a point of view, and also engage audiences in new ways. I think some of you all here were able to make it to our Mapping Malden screening event, which was over at the Senior Center back in January, I think. So that was a really special event, and this is something that's going to be like that, but on a much larger scale. So yeah, I'll pass it on to you, Karen.
As Tom mentioned, this project is going to strengthen a sense of community and connection to Malden through making of the films and the public screenings. Malden is already an emerging hub for arts and culture in the greater Boston area. People already come here specifically for that. We have media outlets interested in covering a story about the screenings, and through all this publicity, Malden is going to be presumably even better positioned as a cultural and community creative hub. As you know, also, arts and culture have been shown many times to be an economic engine, generating growth dollars more than double the original investment, and this project is going to give Malden yet another boost to thrive more deeply by leaning into projects exactly like this one. In addition to all the economic benefits, this project specifically has tremendous potential to develop stronger community bonds, build bridges amongst cultural divides, and help us define our place and purpose in our community and in our world. And the cool thing is that, like Tom said before, there's really nothing else like it. Nothing like this has really been done before. And it already has gathered people from different communities, forging new relationships and new opportunities as we build momentum for the Film Building Malden project. So I would like to thank you for listening to all the ways that we're so excited about this project and invite you to be excited about it too.
So I wish you could hear Maria say, being a film builder, it's a beautiful experience. She's from Italy, so she was one of our film builders in the past. This is your city. You are the leaders of this city. So we need your help to find film builders, to spread news about this project, because this is going to make a difference in our community. It's already made a difference in the things that we've done. We want to make it easy for you to reach out, so we have a little toolkit on our website, and if you look at the handout, it will lead you to the website, and then if you go to the Engage section, you'll see a toolkit, and it's got, you know, Twitter graphics and an email sample and so forth. We're also more than happy to meet with you to brainstorm ways that you can do the outreach, because we don't want to burden you. You work so hard for us. There's so many benefits to being a film builder. We list some of those, not least of all a reasonable stipend. It's not like $1 million, but and a free year at UMA and some other things. So it really is going to be an amazing experience for people who participate. I want to leave you with a video that is a brief promo about what is a film builder, and that was made by Karen Hayes. Some of you know her. And then following that, we will open it up for discussion, conversation, not conversation, you don't have time, but questions and comments.
Is telling a story about humanity that matters.
I enjoyed getting to know these individuals, just working with different people that I will never be able to work with.
It doesn't happen too often that you see such a broad range of ages working together on the same team.
It's helped me pause and look around a little bit more. It's helped me sort of break things down and say there is the beauty in everything that we drive by. And in this city,
I've gained skills of being more observant of where I am, the places I'm at, instead of just looking at it, but the ability to capture what that place has to offer, the meanings.
This film building project has definitely given me an outlet for my creativity.
There is a rich treasure of expertise and education available to us on film building.
You are capturing some visualization, and you may be taking some of that imagination from the person because you're already feeding them with your point of view.
I actually feel very surprised and actually proud that we're able to pull from something in my mind which I didn't think I had before.
the advice I'd give folks that want to learn about film building, I think we all have this apprehension and we're nervous about it. But the nice thing is that there's a great community here.
It's something almost everyone can, because everyone is able to tell a story.
So if you are interested, I will say go for it.
So now we open it up for questions and any reflections.
Okay, and first person up, Karen Cologne-Hayes.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. And I just want to say that I had met with Tom, and we talked a lot about this film. So I told him that if there were some things that I thought that the public needs to know, I would bring them up, because we had a great conversation. And one of the things I want to be clear on is you don't need experience. You don't have to have equipment. One thing that we were talking about, I was like, this sounds like such a great idea. Everybody gets teamed up into like a team of 6 or 5 people, and you decide what your Malden is, and you can just use your phones and take pictures, and then the professionals put the movie together. That's what I needed to hear, because immediately I hear film building, I was like, what? But it sounded like a great idea, and then at the end, this big presentation and like a red carpet type of event, it just seems like such a beautiful idea. You are always coming up with more and more creative things, so I just want to really thank you, and I just wanted to point out that you can do this. I promise you, you can do this. Thank you. Hope you signed up.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I know. I did get to the mapping presentations, and they were really very interesting. And I think, to know this could go beyond that is very exciting. So, and I think being in Ward 6 in Maplewood, one of the things we're asking ourselves is, who is Maplewood? So I think that would be a great way. So however I can get involved in that, and I will try to think of people. So we're just really looking for people who are going to be out there reaching out. So they're kind of connecting up with the community. So it sounds great. They don't necessarily have to go through the in-depth process of clipping everything and editing as much. They kind of shape it, but they don't. Is that kind of what if they want to? But
Well, we're looking for 30 participants who will actually serve as film builders, even though may not have any experience. They meet at the orientation, and then they meet in small groups, 5 of 5. And then they go out and capture pictures, video clips of whatever it is they decide that they're going to focus in on under the theme, Who is Malden? And then they put it all together with the help of this filmmaker who's a professional, and then that becomes the film. But in the process, you're right, they are reaching out to the community. So they may go to a local business, for example, they may want to record that, or some artist they know, or some, member of the city staff, or something interesting that is reflective.
So just as we're talking to people, it's not like you have to come up with an idea.
No.
You don't have to be Matt Damon and Ben Affleck or whatever. You just have to want to be.
Exactly.
You just want to be participating in this, and
Exactly.
it'll be how that goes.
And don't worry, there will be at least one person with a strong idea, so.
Okay, yeah,
but,
okay.
But you
Okay.
could work together to figure it out, yeah.
So if you want to participate, you're excited about it, there's not this thing, you don't have to come and apply to say, this is my idea of
No,
what
no,
Malden is.
that's a great
You just want to be
question.
willing to be part of the process. So
Right,
that's very-
exactly, right.
Thank you, great.
Yeah, and if I could just quickly add on to that. Yeah, so we've approached this project just trying to figure out how to make it as accessible and as inclusive as possible to everyone. So that's why we're taking this very discovery-based approach where we're not using, higher-end cameras and, scripts and things like that. It's really like if you have an imagination, some people that you can gather with, and a smartphone, that's really all you need to tell a story. And I had something else I wanted to say, but I kind of forgot what it was. But yeah, I think the fact that we're moving about it that way is going to hopefully bring about a lot of people out of the woodwork who will be like, yeah, I've got a story to tell. I've been in Malden my whole life. I know a lot about the city. I have things I want to share. Or people that may have just moved here and want to explore the city and uncover things that they don't yet know about. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Crowe?
Thank you, Madam President. I think this is just really a very exciting project. I actually saw Ann Durso Rose one day when I was walking the dog, and so reached out to her about sort of thinking about how we can sort of recreate this with some of our after-school programs or in their world, around some of those programs. So I'm very excited about it. I do think what they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and this really will speak volumes. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan?
Thank you so much. Thank you for this lovely presentation. I've been hearing a little bit about this and wasn't 100% sure what it was all about, and I'm really excited now. So I love that you've brought it to us, and I just opened the toolkit, and I just wanted to say it's really a great resource, very easy to use, and I'm happy to amplify this and get it out to my network. I wonder if there was an opportunity to make maybe a couple translated social media graphics that we could share. I'd love to be able to share in other languages, and then just echoing what Councilor Crowe said, I'd love to find a way to tie the youth in as well, and anything I can do to make any of that happen, I'm happy to be a partner. So congrats on this, and I really look forward to seeing the final output. And if there's any opportunities for us to partner on showings or anything when it gets done, I'd love to be part of that as well. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilor Linehan. I want to also point out we are working on a language accessibility plan, particularly for the screenings. For the films, for the film builders, the groups themselves, we decided that a basic English is necessary just for this, because it's a pilot. But for the screenings, we want to figure out ways to make it accessible to all kinds of people, whether they don't hear or that kind of thing. So we're working on that with Elena Martinez and several other people in the community who are passionate about that kind of thing.
Thank you. And from the chair, I, like Councilor Winslow, attended Mapping Malden, and it was absolutely amazing. I was so glad I went, and it was just to see our Malden residents pick up a camera and actually tell a story. It was just amazing. Julia talking about Santon, in the history and how they came to Malden. I mean, Karen with the river. I mean, it just so many wonderful stories came out of that. So I have very high expectations for this. And my question, I have two questions to you. First of all, would you like to tonight just tell people how to get in touch with you? Because not everybody is going to see it on Facebook, but some of our people, maybe older folks like myself, are watching it on UMA. So I don't know if maybe you would like to give a telephone number or something, how they can contact you if they are interested in it.
Absolutely. Well, we have, number one, a website, and if you go to, urbanmediaarts.org/filmbuildingmalden or our bit.ly who is Malden? That will take you there as well. And on that page, there's a link to the application for the film builder application and the toolkit. However, if you prefer, we also provided emails at the end of your handout for all three of us, or I'm happy to, if someone would like to call and have a conversation, we also offer that. So I'm happy to give my phone number if you'd like it right now, but 781-480-3214. Alternatively, you could call UMA, but that will get me faster.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for coming in. This looks like a great project. I know we're all going to be very excited to see the end result of this, and love the fact that it's such a new, original idea, and Malden can kind of be the first with it. So that's fabulous. So thank you very much.
And thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you. Okay, I am going to, just acknowledge, take something out of order here today. There is a resolve, paper 142-23, and I'm going to have the clerk read this before our next guest.
Resolved that it is the sense of the City Council that they wish to invite Deborah Burke, Director of the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, to appear to provide an update on the department.
On Councilor Crow's motion to pass the resolve, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. That resolve has been passed. Moving back to the beginning of the agenda. You would please read the next item on the docket, Clerk.
Deborah Burke, Director of the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, will appear before the City Council to provide an update on the department. Give me one more.
Give you a little time to get set up here. I either need to get a higher chair. No.
Good evening, Madam President and members of the Malden City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you just to give an update on the happenings at the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development. With your support and the support of the mayor, you'll recall that just about a little under 2 years ago, I advanced a plan to merge what was then called the Malden Redevelopment Authority and fold it into the city departmental structure. Now, almost 2 years later, I thought it was time that we're moving kind of in a new direction, that we have our feet wet, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of the agency, some ideas around succession planning, and also how we're gonna remain competitive and retain employees with the skill sets that they have to compete in this environment. Foremost, the agency, I think most of you will agree, has evolved, over the years, and is even evolved in the past 2 years. Pretty much every activity or program that the city is involved in, members of my team somehow are involved in them as well. We have grown to really expand our housing support initiatives and our affordable housing initiatives, taking the lead on such things as the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. My office also ran a robust rental assistance program during COVID, and members of the team did a lot of work in that. We're also involved with the merger. You folks gave the okay to the hiring of a transportation planner, and I think we've done some credible work in that arena as well, and hope to continue to do that, working collaboratively with the members of the council. We now also are very heavily involved in climate resiliency, more so than ever, and environmental challenges. We're working alongside folks like Councilor McDonald on our climate action plan for the city, and they're embarking with members of my team on pretty comprehensive engagement process. We also have that great Malden River Works project that has emanated from OSPCD. There's a number of community-focused initiatives, such as open space, physical improvements, playgrounds, that have, quality of life benefits that we're involved in as well. We've been, trying to stay ahead of the curve. We need to, compete for resources, both financial and human, to deliver projects and programs for Malden and maximize the opportunities. We're competing for many of the same the same job candidates that are out there being poached by surrounding cities and towns. And, that's occurred in my office with a couple of staff that have most recently left. So I just want to try to position ourselves to be in a better, ability to compete to retain some of these employees. As I, previously mentioned, the OSPCD, and I caught this typo earlier this morning. I'm sorry, didn't correct it, I'm sorry, but the initials are wrong. The OSPCD was created coinciding with the fiscal year 22 budget, which, again, you embraced as an idea. At that time, our function switch, we were managing the City of Malden, well, not the city, but the parking program for the city, and that has been now integrated into the city's parking department. We repurposed the prior MRA agency to a department that's focused now on community, business, and economic development. But, with nearly a couple of years under our belt, it's time to do, as I had stated, some tweaking just to ensure future success and what lies ahead in the years to come. I think it's important to be proactive in terms of just looking forward in terms of, what the future will hold for the agency. And just seeing what, we got involved with in the past couple of years has, really helped inform this exercise. I do want to set up the organization for the future success. We do and have been addressing many new areas of focus and strength and efforts and initiatives. When I first started, it pretty much was just managing the community development block grant and, some housing rehab. But like I said on the prior slide, we've grown to, address numerous other areas that are important to the community at large. And again, I'm just, cognizant of the demand on the team resources that I have. And, at this stage, I think we just want to compete to keep some of these fine people. Some of the things that, have changed, there's been a tremendous increase in our focus area. We're, like I said, it's housing and housing support, it's transportation, it's climate resiliency, it's complex community projects. We're managing the Malden Arts and Cultural Center project over at the courthouse. We're managing, a host of park projects right now. We're managing public service agencies. We've got a robust home program, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it probably has the second largest financial award from the state in this state in terms of what it's receiving in home opera money, and I'll get to that in the following slide. We've been very successful. I was able to hire a grants writer. She has, paid for her salary and that, probably 10 times over in pursuing grants since she became a member of the team. Her past life working in state government has, worked out very well for us because she knows how to network. She knows where to, find the funds and knows very well how to be a collaborative partner with different entities. This climate and energy, the grant writer has, developed a passion for it. And again, besides working on the climate action plan, she's become focused on the aggregation plan for the city and other, important projects that I know Councilor McDonald could definitely speak to, probably far better than me. So I just, you realize that at some stage you need to at least have a succession plan in place and, So there are gonna be some changes to the org chart at the agency, which I'll get into in a moment. One thing I do want to say is that every time I've come in front of the council, or when I advance the merger plan, or when I advance this plan, I've been, fully transparent with my staff. I meet with them every 2 weeks on Mondays, and they're fully aware of this presentation tonight, what it contains, and the folks who will be impacted are also, I've met one-on-one with all of them to make them all aware, and they are all in support and enthusiastic about some of the changes. So we have a lot of grants from which we can pull administrative costs, and so we'll just start with one of our first missions, that's community development. So we've written grants, we've been very successful at getting healthy homes grants. They focus on lead-safe housing and homes that are occupied by or owned by low to moderate income persons. And this current grant that we're working on, which goes until May 2025, is $3.1 million. It's a competitive grant, and we were only a handful of communities in the state that got this grant this particular time around. And 10% of that grant we can charge to our administrative costs for overseeing those grant programs and for the staff that work on them. We also, for the first time, received a Healthy Homes grant. There's 28 or 29 violations that are considered, hazards in your home, like for carpets that may be frayed, that could be a tripping hazard for the elderly, lead paint, insufficient heating systems, wiring issues, so things of that nature. And we're running a grant program right now that we received $1.7 million, and that program goes to 2025, of which we can also charge some of our administrative costs to manage these grants against that grant. With Alex Pratt's help this year, we got a Mass Save grant. And while the program, not because of our doing, but because of the utility involved, needs a little bit of tweaking in terms of how they're getting the word out to residents and accommodating their home audit, energy audit inspections. Nonetheless, we did receive a grant, and that's helping also underwrite some of the admin costs associated with the tremendous outreach and management that we have internally for that program. And then, like I said, we're working again in the energy arena, and we're trying to incorporate best practices and sustainable green building guidelines for our housing rehab programs to the extent that we're able to. And that's a work in progress. The other mission, housing support. So as I mentioned, one of the programs that's kind of, I don't know that a lot of people are aware of it, but we run something called the HOME program. The acronym it's just HOME, and it doesn't really stand for anything. It's a federal HUD program, and in addition to getting an annual $2 million appropriation for HOME, which funds some rehab projects, that also funds affordable housing projects. We have some of the HOME money in right now on the 54 Eastern Ave development, which is that partnership between Bread of Life and Metro North Housing, which will have single room occupancy housing on top of a food pantry. So that's a real exciting project. So that's the HOME program. But we also wrote there was ARPA money associated with HOME, that the focus is definitely on homelessness and homelessness prevention. And we're working right now on NOFRs that would, to try to see if we can get folks to manage a supportive services program for supportive services in housing. And we're also trying to get a RFP out in the street to encourage development projects it's an 8-city consortium, including Malden, but to submit applications for that. Like I said, $7.3 million was granted to the North Suburban Consortium. Malden, through our office, leads that entity, and it's one of the largest awards, at least in the New England area. So it's a lot of money to get out the door by 2030. And there is an administrative fee that we can charge against that grant as well. So why do you choose to redesign an organization or make tweaks? What I'd like to do, just in seeing where our missions have gone and what work we're being tasked or asked to do on behalf of the city of Malden, is that the plan that I'm implementing is that I am going to organize the agency under two main areas of focus, under two deputy directors that will sit underneath the director. I also want to be prepared as part of this plan for additional focus on housing and community development and ways to bring in additional resources into the community. I also want to begin to formalize with, some changes with the grant writer's position, there's a more organizational focus on sustainability, and that's in the climate and energy arena. And also I wanted to strengthen the overall organization and try to, retain employees as best we can in a very competitive landscape. So this is the org chart, and I know many of you know all the members of the team. We interact with all of you frequently, so I put names to it just to simplify it. So I'm the director of the agency. I have an executive assistant, Cheryl, and the senior accountant, Roberta. I am proposing that Alex Pratt, who is now the community development director, actually I am going to move him into a new position called Deputy Director for Housing and Community Development. He will oversee the workings of the home director, the two program assistants that work for the home program and the CDB program. Maureen serves as an assistant to the Community Development Block Grant Program and home, and Christina Sang serves as a part-time help assistant to the home program, and she is also the staff for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And she's only been there a handful of months, but I'll tell you, she's done a heck of a job, and with her research skills and what she brings to the table in terms of her knowledge of affordable housing. Kevin Nestor, who has run lead programs for years, was a lead inspector, and he's managing all those three programs now, the Healthy Homes, the rehab program, and the lead painter program. I am moving him up to the position of neighborhood revitalization manager. Emmanuel Flaris serves as outreach specialist, and he was hired just a handful of months ago, and he does outreach for Mass Save and for a couple of the other rehab programs. Just to go back with this, the only changes in job descriptions and salaries that will be commensurate with their new duties will be the Deputy Director of Housing and Community Development, the Neighborhood Revitalization Manager, the Home Director, the Deputy Director, I'll get to Kevin Duffy in a minute, that will oversee the business and economic development side of things. And the other change in position is the Grants and Sustainability Manager to absorb new functions in the climate and resiliency arena. So as Alex Pratt will sit on the housing and community development side, as I said, Kevin Duffy, who's the current strategic planning, the strategic business development officer, he will sit over, the business and economic development functions, overseeing workings of transportation planner, the senior planner and policy manager, and the grants and sustainability manager. We can go back to these slides if you want at any point. I just have one more if you have questions. And lastly, just a few points to underscore that, the grant writer's position has paid huge dividends here. Millions now more in grant funding. I don't have the number with me tonight, but I can provide that. I think this plan has synergies with the sustainability goals and the needs of the city, and we have multiple funding sources to defray the costs. All of the increases that I am making do not have any impact on the city budget. They will, I am not asking for any city funds to be appropriated. They are all eligible expenses that will be back charged to the grants that these folks are working on. So if you have any questions, oh, and one thing I should say is that I have vetted this plan with the mayor's office, the Human Resources Department, and the city's finance team. So they're all aware of all the moving parts, and they have, signed off on it.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for that. I know this has been a long time in the works, and there's so much that goes into it, and it's hard when there's real people behind these structural decisions. I wanted to first just kind of give you some kudos. I know you and I have worked together for a really long time, and I remember joining what used to be the MRA board when you were newly promoted. I know you had a handful of pivoting the organization at a time when it really needed to change 10 years ago, and you've brought it really far and have managed this, transition into the city side so well, and I want to congratulate you for that first and foremost, because I think we wouldn't be here being able to have this discussion without that groundwork having been laid. And I appreciate that you're thinking about legacy planning, because it's one of the hardest things to do, I think, when you lead an organization. I also want to particularly thank you for the work that you did during COVID, that really your whole team did, being able to finally stand up some of that housing support. I know that's something a lot of us really wanted, and nobody wants to have something like a pandemic force us to get those things in place, but really the Housing Stability Office and the rental support and all of that are, those are things that my constituents rely on, and that I make referrals there all the time, and I'm so thankful that it exists. And I love to see the added emphasis coming on sustainability. I think the Climate Action Plan is a great model for what I'd love to see us think about doing as we take that next step, right? So like promoting people is great, and I'm glad that we're able to hopefully retain a lot of the folks that we have through this restructuring. But I am thinking a few years down the line to how do we really build a culture that people want to stay in, not just in your office, but in the city in general, and how do we continue to do the kind of strategic planning that I know we want to do. We've thought about that when we put it in the department name, but I think we really need to get to that point next of like updating the master plan, doing a sustainable transportation plan, again, building on what I hope will be a successful climate action plan to really ground our work in planning, visioning, data, and things that we can point to consistently to say, this is why we're doing it, this is where we're going, this is the roadmap. And then I guess, the only final thing I wanted to say is just what can we do to support what you need in terms of growing the staff. This looks like a very lean organization when I see all of those folks listed out. And I know you have a couple positions open, and believe me, I've been there. I know public sector recruiting is really, really hard these days. Staying competitive with your salaries, even with some of the benefits that we're able to offer, is still really challenging. So I'm very attuned to that, but I do still feel like we're not only going to need to fill those, but probably need to grow some more positions, and just want to know what as a council we can do to help us get there.
First, thank you for your kind remarks, and I enjoyed commiserating with you all those years that you were on the board, so appreciate that service as well. I truly think that the city as a whole needs to really look at its salary structure. The home director, I'll just start with that position. The person that left, she left in July. So I've been trying to manage that program with some help from staff, but largely through a consultant. So we're keeping that program running, probably not as well as it could run. And she got a significant bump moving to the city of Somerville. That was that one. And then Evan, who was the senior planner that most recently left, he, I want to be honest about him, he didn't really realize a major increase in pay, but what he wanted to do was really get in on the ground floor of cutting edge. He wanted to dig into zoning and just kind of take the zoning ordinance and, and kind of, start working on redoing it. So, a lot of the younger people, they're eager to learn. They come with a great skill set, but a lot of them move around too. And I don't, I've come to accept that, It's lousy when you have to keep, posting jobs, but, I'd have to think a little bit more on questions on, helping. But you're right, there's a lot of projects that people are managing that, it's a lot of work that goes through the office, so.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Director Burke, and just let me plus one to everything that Councilor Linehan said about the good strategic vision that's brought us to this place, and the smart approaches to being more strategic about how the office is put together. You know, I just want to say, I think I talk to a member of your staff probably every day of the working week at this point, one way or another, and I just can't commend enough how much skill, care, professionalism, responsiveness they do bring to their work. It's always a pleasure to work with them. OSPCD is the linchpin of pretty much all of the big things that we want to do in one way or another. So I echo Councilor Linehan's question about how we can do more, and also just thinking, like, as you bring on new staff and hopefully have great folks to fill these positions, that would love to support just onboarding those folks well and making sure that, you know, we're working with them well and bringing things to them appropriately, and they know how to interact with us, because counselors do move a lot in this city, you know, move a lot of projects. And so just trying to help work with good norms so that we can set those staff up for success. Please count me as a partner in doing that.
Great. Thank you, Counselor.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, Debbie, I credit you and your department for always being so hardworking and focused and professional in all the work you do. And it is amazing the amount of work that is undertaken, and through COVID, I mean, that we have you know, done the housing stability as well as keep projects going forward and undertake new planning initiatives. So it's all a lot that continues to go forward, even under these difficult things. I say it's a challenge, and I think we even can anticipate, you know, you say, may you live in interesting times. I think that the next 10 years are going to be very interesting. So I think even discussions as we were hiring the transportation planner, I think there was an anticipation we really needed to expand our city's capacity in terms of sustainability and dealing with climate. And I mean, that's something there's resources available out there, but one of the things I realized, having worked with MRA and other community development departments, if you don't have the resources of staff to pursue those grants and then implement them, you just can't even compete. So, so I think that's so important, and it's good to know we're coming up with a strategy, and I just, again, supportive of it any way, and also, you know, with a couple of people staffed down, I'm willing to help out in any way to keep the momentum going that is there. And I do have one question of just in terms of the organizational chart. I mean, in the past, there's sort of been the community development block grant manager that sort of Alex has had that role. Is that, where does that fall now?
He will be overseeing that.
Overseeing
as
that,
well.
and then
right.
and
for
then
now, whether or not that morphs into, you know, just we're going to have to kind of play with this and then just see how that goes.
And then in terms of, like, you know, we have a lot of parks going, and some of that's CDBG, some of it's park grants, some of it's CPC. Is where is that kind of going to fit into the?
Well, that will still sit under his side of the house here, so to speak. But we're fortunate in that with some of these grant projects that, you know, in terms of, say, clerk of the works, to make sure we're managing them all correctly, because there's, you know, you have to be out in the site when, you know, things are being constructed. You know, we have worked in tandem. We don't turn it all over to them, but we have worked in tandem with, you know, a great group of, you know, professional consultants that, where we don't have the staff to do some of that, some of the consultants are helping to manage, you know, physical improvement projects with our eyes and ears on it too.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we should think of it as a council in building capacity is to actually maybe then have, I know in Somerville, you know, there was actually a park project manager, you know, so that might be the type of thing of trying to anticipate of, I mean, I think in transportation, they have the transportation planner. I mean, we want those people to plan end projects. Right. So I think that's the type of thing we do have to think of there's planning things, and I think also the actual getting the grants and implementing things at some capacity we have to be aware of too. And I think it's also makes the jobs more interesting for our staff that, you know, we have, unfortunately, over the past 5 or 6 years, we've done some great plans on Commercial Street. We're doing one on Broadway and other things that, and we have not translated those into actual zoning and projects. So I think that's the other type of thing that we're gonna have to do this, because right now, I really think these next 10 years, we're gonna have to just work hard enough to stay in place, let alone get out ahead of what the challenges of sustainability are in terms of electrifying our community and you know, upgrading homes to be carbon free. I mean, those are huge challenges. I don't think we've seen these challenges in our community since, you know, probably the 60s and 70s during urban renewal. So I think that's the type of thing we have to anticipate. This is as challenging of time as Malden faced back in the 60s and 70s when the MRA was created, and now we're really creating a new focus. So thank you, Debbie, for taking it on and getting us in position to get ready for the challenges of the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you,
we have a
Counselor.
lot of lights here, so Councilor Hayes.
Thank you.
Hayes, sorry.
I thought I saw somebody's on before me, so thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation. I wasn't sure what we were going to hear tonight, and so this is a lot to take in, but I also want to say that I really enjoy working with you and your office, and you know that I tell you that you're so straightforward, which I really appreciate, so thank you for that, and for keeping everything afloat during like one of the most challenging times. So thank you. I do have a couple of questions also. I know in previous meetings here, I had concerns about the amount of staffing, which I'm sure you do too, in your office to do all that needs to be done and stay on top of it and make sure that all the, you know, crosses and T's and dots and I's are getting done. It's the little details, and I am concerned about that. So anything that we can do to help with staffing, I'm be glad to help with you, you know, get that through. The projects that are coming through are also very concerning to me. I know we've talked about this as well. The CPC projects, all the new parks coming up, one right after the other. And in a meeting that we had talked about a clerk of the works. I have, a lot of concerns about somebody managing all those projects in addition to doing everything else in an office and making sure that that's a tremendous job. So I know you know that, and we have talked about that. And so I just want to say that we're here to help. I'm glad that I hope this makes things easier and, you know, you move along smoothly, but I do acknowledge that this probably won't be enough. Managing grants, getting grants, I've done that for so many years. Getting a grant is almost the easy part. The managing of the grant is so hard. So thank you anyway for everything that you do, and we're here to help in any way.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Burke, for coming tonight. You know, OSPCD, I think it's the first time I've said it correctly. Your office works with a lot of great projects, some of the most exciting projects in the city. You know, even from your time at the MRA, you transformed the city from what it was back then to what it is now. You know, your organization and you have your fingerprints on everything in our community. So I applaud you for being able to make this transition, and I do appreciate that you did it so smoothly. You know, I know we together, you know, we've been in the trenches together on Exchange Street, you know, learning the process for a tip. And through that process, you know, we've developed a mutual trust and respect that allows us to work together and really get things done for our community. And I think that's something that is really important to me, and I know it's important to other councilors up here, that the people that you're putting in positions of leadership have that type of relationship and work to foster that type of relationship with every elected official in our community. Whether they're on the council or in the mayor's office, because it's their job. And it makes them, it makes us, it makes the city more successful. And I think that that's one of the challenges that I've encountered when it comes to making sure that I and the city and OSPCD are most successful. I've noticed that sometimes people are afraid to work with some of us. Or do not want to work with some of us, and that really complicates things because it manifests itself in ways that are not productive. on both sides. And so I do think that building trust within the organization generally as the city of Malden and in every department is going to be crucial to the success of what you're proposing here. I do think that the fact that a lot of your staff are politically connected is both a positive and a negative. I do think it adds a lot of complications. So I'm hopeful for what you're proposing, but I do think some hard conversations will need to be had to make sure that there's trust and we can all work together for the future of Malden. I know that that's kind of a tough thing to say. I do think it's also important that what you're proposing is put out there publicly. I think that everyone in the community has a right, whether they're inside the city or outside of city right now, to apply for some of the new positions that you're proposing. And I know that Councilor Spadafora was really adamant about creating an ordinance that would require every new opportunity to be publicly posted. We have a little bit of a checkered track record on that, and I do think a change like this really should be put out so that everyone feels like no one's getting special treatment and everyone has an opportunity to apply for what is an amazing job.
Although, Councilor, this is an internal restructuring for the better, benefit of the agency and the city. I truly believe that. The positions that are available or open in the office right now, the home director's job, we've advertised it everywhere. I mean, if you can find a home director for me that's qualified tomorrow, I'm happy to interview that person. We will soon be advertising for a transportation planner that's publicly posted. We've sent it to every place we can possibly think of, or we will be, and the senior planner position has been posted as well. But I needed to take action and do some internal restructuring so that, you know, no one person there is drowning given the vacant positions right now, and just, you know, moving the agency, like I said, I truly believe it, you know, into the future.
And I think to Councilor Winslow's point, we've done a lot of policy work on the city council, whether it's a master plan or transportation plan, you know, open space and recreation plan, you know, Malden River plan, Broadway plan. I'm not going to repeat everything, but I do feel like we're sometimes 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And, you know, your staff, particularly your new staff that's inspired, just graduating from school, really wanting to leave their mark on the world and our community, do feel like they have one hand tied behind their back. And it's not because of your leadership. I do think it's something that, you know, we as a community need to address, whereas like some of these things go to the traffic commission, we have these things, but the traffic commission doesn't want to go down that route, whether it's, you know, our safe communities, our speeds, what's the ordinance that what was the ordinance you passed? But the other one, you were involved in it? No, it's the grant money that we get.
Oh, complete streets.
Complete streets. You know, like there's just like so many examples of like, I think that the city has taken a stand on these policies, but we're kind of dragging our community. And I think that if we're more bold there, you're going to be able to retain your staff. One other thing that is kind of out there, you know, where exactly the city planner fits in all this. You know, when you talk about a senior planner that's wanting to get involved in zoning, I do think that we need to reconcile that at some point, which is why I think that this conversation is healthy, but it might be bigger than just a minor restructuring. But I am happy that you're bringing it to the council so we can move forward on this.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I'll be honest with you, I wish we didn't even bring this here tonight. I'd like to have this conversation maybe in private, but since it's here, it's here. And Deb, you know I've worked with you since 1997, and we've done great work together down in my neighborhood. And, you know, I'm one of those city councilors that right now my job is my neighborhood. That's what I do. I know a lot of people come up here and they talk about citywide issues, and I play a role in citywide issues, as much as I can and as much as I should. That's why we have city councilors at large, so they can work on those things and keep us ward councilors abreast of what's going on citywide, because there's only so much time in the day. So saying that is, I worry about my neighborhood. I'm elected to look and take care of my neighborhood. And I just got to say that I compare from when I used to work with you guys when it was the MRA. I felt as though that I got more of a response back then when they were the MRA. Pretty much open door policy, come in and start working on some projects and talking about some things. And, when I got back here on the city council, I found out that we didn't have a community development committee, which I thought was crazy. And if I was council president, the first thing I would do is put a community development committee together. I was the chairman of that committee for 10 years. And I think it's important because the reason why I say that is because the MRA, or what are we calling you now?
OSPCD.
Yeah, all those things. So, we work with you like one-on-one. Like, I can only speak for my neighborhood as an example. We've got several parks in my neighborhood. We have the highest poverty level in my neighborhood. We have the highest minority single mothers in my neighborhood. I can go on, but I'm not gonna. If anybody that's lived here and knows Suffolk Square, they know I got Newland Street housing projects, I got Bolden apartments. I've had 7 deaths in the last year and a half. 5 of them was from overdosing. I've had shootings. I actually live in Bolden apartments now, so I live in the trenches. And, I have to say, even though we have worked on some things, with Kierstead Park being one of them, and, when I got elected, back then when I was on the council, they didn't have a CPC. They had the 108 loan, community development block grant money, like you said, and they had, or you went out to bond for it or something. And skateboard park, for example, I raised $30,000 through Pepsi. The MRA gave us $10,000, and then I raised the rest of it through AT&T in a grant, and got some money for some of the businesses that built that park for $100,000. Lincoln Commons, we did a great job at Lincoln Commons, and Miller Park, Harvard Street. We did some work down there then. And I've been in office for 2 years right now. When I got in office, I got handed a package of, and I understand, you get the baton passed on, and it was the Kierstead Park project, which is a great project, and it's got some good things. I know Steve worked hard on it and some other folks. But when I got it, there was no budget attached to it. So it was like, hey, congratulations, Chris. I'm glad you won the election, but here, this is the park we want, but we don't have any funding. Go find it, which we did. We did it. We did a good job. We found it. But my neighborhood, and I've been told from people in this building that my neighborhood was the hardest hit from the COVID situation. And post-COVID, we should be getting a lot of resources down there. And I know we were looking for a multi-service center, and that kind of fell through, so we're going to do some affordable housing down there. But again, I think it's just, it seems to me that it's taking too long. And and there's a big disconnect for me. I call the office, I talk to you, but sometimes I call and I know everybody's busy. I know people got stuff to do, but so do I. I work 2 jobs. I take my job serious as a city councilor, and I want some response in a reasonable amount of time because I'm dealing with my constituency. And my folks have been waiting way too long. We've got ARPA funding money up there, over $40 million. My neighborhood hasn't seen any of it. We've got CDBG funds, which I didn't get any of that money in the previous year for when I first got in office. And then I forfeited the other CDBG funds so that we can do the Roosevelt project. So I'm not too particularly happy. I mean, I work with you guys because I have to work with you guys because that's how we get things done. That's what your jobs are, is to go after this money and get it. I certainly can't do it on a part-time basis that I'm working at. But I just think that, like, you know, when I first got elected into office and I was told that, you know, I want to do a lot of things down in your neighborhood, I want to get a lot of things done down in your neighborhood, and your neighborhood qualifies for it, you know, you're a hot zone, but yet I haven't seen any trees except for the trees that I planted. So I don't see anybody working on those things. So when we had a community development committee, those things would get, I'd like to finish. Well, I mean, we're here, right? Madam President, we're here, so I have the floor, and I'd like to end with, I don't want to be rushed off the podium.
I'm not going to rush you off the podium. I'm just going to, for a point of interest, Director Burke is here to tell us about a change to her organization, and she's come down here. I don't want to say out of courtesy, it's more than courtesy, but she's come down here to tell us and inform us what she's doing.
And that's all well and good, Madam President, but at the same time, she's down here to inform us on how the MRA is moving forward and how it's going to act and how the structure's going to work. And I'm just simply over here as a city councilor saying how I'd like to see some things work for the constituency of my neighborhood. Okay. So I don't see the relevance. So again, you know, getting back to, you know, what I was saying is that having a community development committee, we'd be allowed, like, on a bi-weekly basis, you know, we'd be able to have you guys, and look, Director Burke, I love you to death, man. You do a fantastic job. I like you. You know that. I work great with you. We've done some great things. I'm just talking about structure, that's all. You come in with a structure, and I'm just putting my 2 cents in it. And I just think that when the council had more control over the MRA, because I don't know what it's called now, and I'm just going to call it MRA. But when the council had more control over the MRA, like bi-weekly, you know, we would know what was going on. And the city councilors are the ones that get elected for their districts. They know what they need in their districts. And when they bring it forward, you know, those projects shouldn't be put aside or put on the back burner because they're working on some of these other projects. I'm sure they're all important, but I think that the councilors have the right to be able to have your agency come before us bi-weekly. I mean, we used to go over the budget. The city council used to go over the budget. You remember, the community development committee would go over that. I don't know what happened there. I don't know how we lost that. It just seems this council continues to give up its authority on things, especially things like this, because money doesn't grow on trees and it doesn't come along that easily. So when it does, I want to make sure, and I'm sure all my colleagues feel the same, that they want to make sure they get a good bang for their buck and that we're doing things down in my neighborhood. And, you know, I've got several parks down in my neighborhood, and this is my second year of my first term, and so far we don't have anything in the work except for the Kierstead Park project, which, you know, I kind of was elected into that thing and had to go find the money, and I'm glad we did, and I appreciate everybody, and Alex, I know he worked hard on getting the money for us and everything else. But under this structure, you know, I don't know if, you know, before that structure happens, I don't know why that doesn't go before the Personnel and Appointments Committee like everything else does, so the city council can weigh in on who's going where and by their performance with the councilors as a whole and how they're working with the councilors, because that's how it always worked when I was a city councilor before, with the MRA is that they, you know, they work with the individual counselors on the projects that they wanted to work on that was near and dear to the constituency of whom they serve. So, look, you know, I think you guys are doing a good job up there. I mean, you're doing a lot of work. I've seen some of the work that you're doing. I'm just saying that as a city councilor, I'd like to have more oversight on your department to be able to, like I said, every other week in a subcommittee, and be able to, you know, talk about the programs that you guys are working on. You know, sometimes I call and, you know, I'm chasing people around until I come up here in the physical role, and then I get a response. So I don't, you know, that's not cool. So I just think that, like, you know, before you start changing this structure around, I think that the city councilors should have the opportunity to weigh in on who goes where, and maybe it needs to be done in a community development committee from the council. I won't take up any more of your time, Madam President, but I just feel as though that the city council needs to have more control over what's going on in their neighborhood and the projects that they want to do in their neighborhood. And, you know, I'll give you an example right now. Nobody has gotten back to me. The Bryant Street project with the temple, I worked diligently on that project for 6 months, even before I even pulled papers, and worked diligently with that. And then I wrapped it up, put it in a bow, handed it off. I haven't heard anything about it since. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know where anybody is. I don't know who has it. I don't know if A, B, C, D, E, F, G is actually going to do the project. I don't know if it's going to be 20 units, if it's going to be 22 units. I don't know if it's going to take 18 months for them to put the shovel in the ground. I don't know if they're going to do it by the end of the summer. I don't know where that is. And I'm sure you got the answers. I'm sure you do. But I'm just saying, like, you know, I'd like to be able to. I feel like when I handed it off, it kind of got lost, and I just feel a little slighted by it. And Debbie, I just want to say that I've worked with you for over 20 years, and you're very good at your job. And and someday when you leave, the city will definitely miss, you know, your ways of doing things, because you're very good at what you do. But I just feel as though that not just with this here, but I think with other things as well, as I've been watching for the last 2 years on this council, I think this council has given up a lot of authority, and, you know, we're supposed to be council strong and mayor weak is the way that it's designed, and I just don't see that anymore. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. You know, just two takeaways from that. Obviously, we can have a conversation. The CPDG committee has never been a committee that I've seen in 14 years. So somewhere it disappeared before I came on here. Certainly a conversation we can have if you think it has value. It's never come up. It's never come up as an issue. And I'm going to let Councilor Spatafora speak next. But, you know, hopefully this restructuring will help with some things. And maybe Director Burke, we could come up with some way to have more of maybe a monthly update or some type of communication on different projects in the office that, you know, everyone could get, so we'd all kind of be on board with what's going on. That might solve some of the, you know, the issues that we're here, something we can talk about as we go forward.
That's fine if you want to suggest a reporting mechanism. But let me just say, I'm not running a rogue department. I have an open door policy at that office. I have had it since I've worked there. All of my staff have been told, I don't know if that's the great word, to treat, you know, all of you with respect. And I think they all do a darn good job at doing that. So that's from where I sit. I have had great working relationships with every single one of you. I treat you professionally and have a lot of respect for all of you. And my office has worked on, like I've said in this presentation, just about every major program and project in this city. And Councilor Simonelli, I'm a little disheartened by your comments, and I'll keep it brief, but, you know, I'm working right now with you on 3 projects. You brought up Bryan Street, that's one. Kierstead Park is another. It's almost ready to go out to bid. And the other piece is the skateboard park. I spent a good part of time last week researching skateboard parks and trying to help you out. So, you know, I'm committed to working on all the projects that this office can do for the benefit of the city. It's not like I pick certain councilors because I like them better than the other. It's not how I roll. If I did that, I would get caught up in too much minutia that I don't have time for, quite frankly. In Bryan Street, the reason you haven't heard, it's a matter of real estate negotiations, which aren't vetted publicly. And we can talk about that offline, okay? Thank you.
Councilor Spatafora. Oh, wait a minute, Councilor Spatafora, there you go.
Thank you, Madam President. And I promise to be brief. I know every council spoke for the importance and understand that. You know, from my perspective, Debbie, when I first saw the presentation, it was really a reinvention of an agency that when I first came here, you know, you had different names, right? You had urban renewal, I think was the first thing that happened in the 60s, right? And then it was focused on, you know, tearing down blighted parts of the city and then rebuilding them. And then there was the initiative for lead removal in a lot of these homes. And, you know, the organization probably got a little long in the tooth, as we all knew, and all the councils here took I would say structure and probably a little bit of, you know, swallowing your pride to finally make the change under your leadership to really re-envision what the MRA, the old name, used to do and now what it's done. And I think in the presentation, it has certainly come across as things we've never talked about in the past, not because we didn't know it, we certainly didn't understand the importance. You know, we're talking about resiliency now, environmental, we're trying to absorb, you know, housing concerns, that is affordability throughout the state, if not the country. We're looking for economic recovery after we went through the pandemic. So a lot of these things that were not on your mission statement are now on your mission statement, and I think it only speaks, you know, dividends to you and your team throughout the years in changing what was a department that was probably not going to last much longer under its current charter. Now going forward, I feel like at least we are reinvigorated. We have a lot more skill sets up there, and we are charting a course in many areas, right, that we never dreamed about in the future. So I'm happy to see that, and every council up here knows without that power of, I still call it the MRA, without the power of having the federal dollars and running those grants and doing all the parks and the expertise, we would get nothing done in this community. So I'm just happy to see the changing of the mission statement and really the goals of that organization to fit the demands and the needs of not only the city and the people in it, but also, you know, the high stakes we have with some environmental concerns, and we're plotting the way. So kudos to you. I support my colleagues in terms of just, you know, communication. I think it's always good to get more, but we've had a great working relationship. We don't always agree. You know, we've had some kind words to share in calls, but at the end of the day, I think it's all for the betterment of the community. So great job on that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. And from the chair, seeing no other lights, you know, I too, Debbie, Director Burke, you know, we certainly, you know, have worked on a number of projects together. What I'm happy to see is that the grant writer is working out that she actually, you know, is not only funding herself, but funding a number of other projects and bringing some much-needed dollars in the door. I'm also pleased that you came down here with a vision. You recognize a need. You are losing people. You know, you and I have talked about that and what you might be able to do to kind of stop the bleeding, so to speak, and create an organization where the young folks will like to stay. Also, the fact that you came down here and you didn't ask us for any money, okay? You know, seriously, that doesn't happen often. The fact that you found a way to fund all this through grants and administrative costs. But, you know, having said all that, I think, you know, we've heard some areas. We know, you know, everyone's working double duty up there at the moment, especially now with losing 3 of your ski staff, that we do need to get those folks hired. I think that will probably, help with the communication. But I also know, just sitting in this role, what Councilor Simonelli might hear versus what Councilor Crowe might hear versus what Councilor Sika might hear. There's really no way for us to kind of get the overview of what's going on. So whether it's a quarterly meeting or it's just a little monthly report that gives an update on the different projects that you're working on, I think that would hold us all in good stead and have us all feel like we have an idea of what's happening with the projects, the very important projects that are affecting not just a ward, but, the entire community or multiple wards at one time. So, I'd look forward to, sitting down with you and seeing if we could come up with a mechanism.
I'm happy to do that, so we'll talk.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other lights, thank you for coming down. We appreciate the presentation and all your hard work. Okay, I'm going to give... Okay, the next order of business is public comment. So public comment is allowed under council rules. Each speaker is limited to the subject matter relevant to the evening's agenda and must keep their comments to 2 minutes or less. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment
We
this
have 2
evening?
people signed up.
Okay. And they are, if you'd read them, please.
Lizette Alvarado, 492 Pleasant Street, to speak on paper 139 and 140, and then after John Saya, 37 Pierce Street, to also speak on papers 139 and 140.
Ms. Alvarado, if you would state your name and address, please, to the record. But one moment, let me get you on there. There.
Thank you. I'm Lisette Alvarado at 492 Pleasant Street. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm with the Friends of Roosevelt Park, and I am specifically talking about the 2 docket agenda items that have to do with Roosevelt Park. The first one, 140-23, regarding the lead digging down 3.5 feet into the soil. Thank you very much. We do appreciate you putting that forward. I want to remind the council and the folks at home that this is a subject that the Friends of Roosevelt Park have been advocating for since the lead had been tested back in 2019. We've spoken to anyone who will listen to us about having that lead remediated, and this is the first green light that we finally have seen that this will be moving forward. We truly believe that it's been unethical for the city to not remediate that soil since it's a public health crisis to the 1,200 students who attend Salem Woods School and to the adjacent neighborhood that have had to deal with that lead dust and lead hazard for the last 4 years. The other thing that we have done, we have consistently talked to people about brownfield grants, and it's come to our attention that there has been ARPA funding available for the last 3 years that could have gone towards this specific project, especially since it had already met the criteria of CDBG funding. It's an environmental justice census tract that meets all 3 criteria of environmental justice by the state of Massachusetts. So there has been funding that didn't need to come from the general fund to remediate this. We thank you that it's finally coming up to light, but we have been disheartened that it has not been remediated up to this point, especially since the health crisis for our K-8 students at the Salem Woods School and adjacent neighbors. One last thing I wanted to mention, and this is just food for thought, I will always push for living green grass at Roosevelt Park. I wanted to remind everyone that PFAS is the forever chemicals are in every type of artificial turf there. This has become another serious health crisis in our country. I want to put a little bit of context to this. The International Association of Firefighters went to DC.
Ms. Lisette, you've reached your 2-minute limit.
Oh, thank you.
If you give you a couple of seconds to wind up.
Yeah, no problem. They went to DC, and their main item is to remove PFAS from their turnout gear, since they are saying that the leading cause of death of firefighters is cancer due to PFAS. It is unethical for us to put any type of turf down that contains PFAS, and there is no turf that is PFAS-free at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Alvarado. John Sayer?
Do I have to press any buttons here? Or is it
No,
already
you're
on?
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my name is John Saya from 37 Pierce Street. I agree with everything that Lisette was saying about the lead. I just don't think it makes any sense to pay to put clean soil in just to pollute it with the artificial turf. I understand tonight's about passing the funding request to the Finance Committee, so I'm just going to comment procedurally. The last time the project went over budget was in 2020. At that time, it was revealed to the Community Preservation Committee. It was also accompanied by an updated cost summary, and neither of that has been provided tonight. I don't know what you expect to accomplish at the Finance Committee without that information. Even if this is just procedural and you want to go through with that, I would still expect transparently that all of this information is accessible to the public so that we have a paper trail of knowing what was known and when. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it just seems like a shame that the mayor's leaving out the CPC in this process. It's a Community Preservation Act project. The mayor said in a memo just a few hours before this meeting that his specialists and the hardworking staff who's worked on this project for years would be available for the important discussion. They're not here tonight, so I'd assume this isn't the important discussion. I guess you guys who voted against talking about this last year are going to be the ones holding the discussion and not the public if you go and pass this on to the Finance Committee. So if you want that burden, go ahead, pass it on to Finance without it going through the CPC as it was done before. This isn't the important discussion. It's going to take place without the public if you guys go ahead. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Saya. Okay, we have a number of we have a number of emails that have come in.
We have yes, exactly. So I'm going to start with, we had 2 emails to speak on paper 102-23, the ELC Park. So I thought we would start with that.
That's perfect, thank you.
Okay. First one says, I'm writing in favor of funding the Early Learning Center Playground Project. My family have been residents of Malden since 1987 and have enjoyed the collaboration throughout the city for many endeavors to help build inclusion and equality. The ELC has educated many of our students and now adult leaders to embrace this culture to include all. Our community consists of many individuals with varying abilities, and this project will provide better accessibility in the community space. This space will also include a large green space with new trees and shrubs, which will provide a nice respite for our community. I thank you for your consideration. Marilyn Andrews, 83 Cleveland Street. The benefits of fostering an inclusive environment for all people who live in and visit Malden are well established and documented. I am a proud, albeit relatively new, Malden resident, in large part because of its proven dedication to inclusivity that is evident around every corner. I strongly believe that we cannot truly ingrain inclusivity in the future of our community if we don't create accessible and welcoming places for our young people to play and learn together. And this new ELC Playground project does exactly that. Due to the incredible and unparalleled diversity of Malden schools, our young people with and without disabilities have the opportunity to learn how to work out conflicts peacefully and respectfully by listening to their peers' ideas and learning from their varied lived experiences and feelings. Tova Miller, Member Disability Commission, 46 Converse Avenue, number 3.
So that is a total of 4 people who have technically spoken during the public comment section. Our rules say that 15 people are allowed to speak during public comment. We have received a total of 34?
34 and counting.
34 emails prior to the start of this meeting, with more, actually starting to 4 o'clock when the cutoff came, with more coming in. 14 of them are in favor of, 14 of them are opposed to basically turf at Roosevelt Park, and 20 are in favor of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick 11 emails to read, 5 from the opposed side and 6 from the in favor side, just because the numbers are higher on the in favor side. And then we are going to put all of the emails in a shared folder, not just the ones that we've received from 4 o'clock, but the ones that will continue to come in, so that all the councils will have access to to all the emails that have come in. So that's the way we're going to move forward.
Okay.
So clerk, if you would,
So for 5 of the opposition.
5 opposed and then 6 in favor, please.
Please, to whom this may concern, this is wrong. This decision to turf Roosevelt will have effects on our children's health. The young ones especially who attend Salemwood School and so much enjoy their playtime outside on living grass. Let's face it, we understand the difference. Artificial versus breathable living grass. Why are you ignoring climate for my community? You understand that the heat index will be greatly exacerbated. Flooding will erode the landscape over time. The birds and nature will be gone. It will be a lifeless dead zone. Why? I resent the loss of life given green natural gas, and I am vehemently opposed. Joan Colburn, 20 Hyde Street, Malden, lifelong resident. Please read my letter into the record. I am, oh, sorry. It's
okay, take time.
Here we are. I am very concerned about the plight of Roosevelt Park and the possibility that all of the objections, warnings, and Board of Health information is being ignored by Mayor Gary and the council, save the 1, maybe 2 councilors who are with us on this. My concern is that plastic turf will be placed over existing grass and change the landscape and environment negatively. I speak as a 4th-generation Maldonian, formerly of Ward 5, and a homeowner in Ward 6 since 2005. I have attended several meetings in person and on Zoom for this issue over the past 2 years. I enjoyed the park as a teen, and my children played sports on the fields. As recently as 2011, my daughter was playing in a citywide softball league there. Playing on contaminated soil, we now know. I also worked for the City of Malden from 2009 to 2014 as a substitute nurse and frequented the Salemwood School and am familiar with the park's flooding issues. Sentiments aside, please do not allow this turf to happen. It may seem wonderful at first to the sports users, but it will be regrettable, a financial headache, and even worse, an ecosystem disaster. I have contacted Senator Markey's office because he proclaims himself to be a great steward of the environment. Never heard anything from him, just a routine email that my email was received. To my knowledge, he has not weighed in on this matter at all, and he's a Maldonian to boot. What is happening here? Where is your concern for the precious ecosystem involved here? This is 2023, not 1973. We know so much more about what is right for the planet. Other countries are opting for grass over turf as well. Please do the right thing and stop the plan for turf at Roosevelt Park. Kim Bowie Sturett, 73 Bowman Street. Please read my comments into the record for the City Council meeting. We, neighbors and residents of Roosevelt Park, are worthy of a living grass park, and so are our children who attend the Salemwood School. Just like the neighbors of Deborah Park and Trafton Park, we are important stakeholders and our voices count. We don't want our living grass removed in order to laminate it with plastic turf. The living vegetation cools the neighborhood during heat waves. Adding a heat island during a climate crisis in one of the hottest environmental justice neighborhoods in the city is wrong. School children will be forced to play there during recess at the hottest time of day, even if their parents have legitimate health and safety concerns about plastic turf. Student athletes have told me how at high school soccer tryouts on plastic turf, they and their teammates got heat-related illnesses. One was vomiting and one fainted from the heat. Many sports parents have told me they prefer real grass but are afraid to speak up because they want their kids on the team. Plastic turf is bad for our athletes' health. They are more at risk for lower body injuries, concussions, dehydration, heat-related illness. Kids with asthma, obesity, and chemical sensitivities are more at risk on hot plastic turf. No parent wants these risks for their kids. Everyone would benefit from living grass, and the people of Ward 5-1 are worthy of living green space. Carrie Percival for Seaview Ave. Please don't use artificial grass for the reasons given below. Also, is anyone being financially prodded for this Roosevelt field, since when the other 2 fields are having natural grass? Hopefully not, because the health concerns must override financial inducements. And that was from Chris Costa of 90 Converse Avenue. Hello, my name is Erica. I'm a mom to a 7th grader at Salem Wood School and a citizen of the wonderful city of Malden for 8+ years. I am writing to you in hopes that you will listen to the parents and citizens of this city and will not put artificial turf at Roosevelt Park. Simply removing 3 feet of soil isn't enough. Artificial turf will hurt our children, our environment, and is an anti-climate action project. It will cause more global warming and will, in fact, release more toxins into the ground over time. Have any of the council members taken the time to listen to the expert testimony at the Board of Health meeting? Why is Roosevelt Park slated for plastic artificial grass when Deborah and Trafton are getting all natural grass fields? Seems like it may be because more affluent residents reside in that area, so they get what they want and we get whatever is cheapest at the moment. This is not okay, it's not fair, and it's not in the best interest of the students, athletes, or city in general. Natural grass is and will always be the best option. Please do not do this to our children or the children of the future. They all deserve better. We will not silently let this happen. We will stand up for our children at any cost. Please reconsider implementing plastic turf and resod the park instead. I request that this email be read into the record. Erica Dupont, 36 Bryant Street. So that was 5. And now in support. I am writing you in support of the Roosevelt Park Turf Project. I sit on the board of Malden Pop Warner and know that we all support the new turf field. I am also a mom of 2 boys who are active in Malden youth sports and continue to have scheduling issues with fields. I see this with football, lacrosse, baseball, and basketball. We are all in need of safe turf fields. The conditions of some of the fields we play on are unsafe. It will also be a great place to have for fun outdoor activities with the family. I am a lifelong Malden resident who played sports here myself as well and enjoyed the park recreation for many years. We have beautiful green park at Lincoln Commons for those who would like that setting. Our children of Malden are in need of park, sports, recreation to stay out of trouble and share with peers. I have attended the City Hall meetings in the past to support the start of the project, and I am unable to attend tonight. Please consider moving forward with this project. Julie Turner, 265 Forest Street. I'm writing to express support of turf at Roosevelt, having children in Malden youth baseball. It is terrible how often our children are unable to play the sport they love due to terrible field conditions. Not only is it bad enough that the league has to spend so much of what little fundraised finances we have on park permits for fields that our taxes already pay for, but it's completely unacceptable when our volunteers, board members, and coaches have to take time off from work after it rains to prepare the fields by vacuuming huge puddles and spreading speedy dry, trying to frantically dry up the field so the children do not have to be let down by yet another cancellation due to poor field conditions. 2 years ago, my husband broke his nose when a baseball bounced from the dirt, which was basically as hard as concrete and riddled with rocks. The following year, parents from Somerville complained after balls bouncing off the terribly maintained field caused injuries to children as balls flew at their heads and necks. Had these balls hit the children the same way they hit my husband and broke his nose, they would have caused a child's face to shatter. Where the primary use of Roosevelt would be for children's sports, it makes the most sense to have a field that the younger kids can use for sports that is easy to maintain, reliable regardless of weather, and above all, safe. We already invest a lot of time and money into our children's sports, and to have games continuously canceled due to field conditions is unacceptable. Our children should be able to actually use what our taxes and our permit fees are paying for, and volunteers shouldn't have to use their time and resources to scramble so our kids can play. I am a very progressive person, but let's face it, turf at Roosevelt will not tip the scale on global warming. Thank you for your time. Shiana Khalil, 515 Cross Street. I am writing in support of the current renovation plans for Roosevelt Park. I wish I could be at tonight's meeting, but I am coaching for Malden Youth Soccer. My team practiced on the grass there last year and went through a can of bug spray per night, and the kids were always so muddy. While I understand the wishes for a grass field there, it just seems impractical. The kids are really feeling the loss of the field, and it reduces our time on the fields, so everyone has the opportunity to practice. I really hope the renovation moves forward. Heather Barry, 10 Hudson Terrace. I want to express my support for the renovation of Roosevelt Park. As a community, we are only as good as our commitment to each other and especially our young people. When compared to the other parks in the area and surrounding cities, Malden's Roosevelt Park is far below standard. Please provide the necessary funding to help our community by creating a pleasant space to be enjoyed by all. Virgil Brincherico, 740 Salem Street. I am writing in support of turf fields at Roosevelt Park. As a parent of a Malden athlete, it is imperative that our community has access to better fields that can be played on despite the weather days before. Rob McDougall, 34 Glenmere Avenue. Good afternoon. I'm sorry? No. Good afternoon. As a current resident of Malden and former physical education teacher at Salemwood, I am reaching out in support of Roosevelt Field project. Thank you for your time and consideration. Dan Jarowski, 186 Broadway.
Okay. So that gives us kind of a theme of what is coming in. I'm sure we'll all be reading many more letters over the next week. So, next order of business, please.
Approval of minutes. Paper 117-23, minutes for the meeting of March 14th. Paper 118-23, minutes for the meeting of March 21st.
Councilor Simonelli, do you have your light on still, or no? You're okay. I'm getting confused. Okay. Councilor Winslow.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley's destroying everything. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next order of business, please.
Paper 119-23, mayoral appointment. Kristen Holmeyer, 51 Concord Street, number 27, as a member of the Conservation Commission. Said term to expire February 7th, 2025, to replace Khalil Kaba, who stepped down at the completion of his term due to moving out of the city. Confirmation required.
Councilor Linehan, this is a new appointment. Make a point on Councilor Linehan's motion to refer to personnel and appointments. All those in favor? Aye. Seconded by Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The paper has been referred, the appointment has been referred to personnel and appointments.
Paper 120-23, mayoral reappointment, Pascal DeFeo, 84 Trevelyan Road, Revere, as a constable to serve process in the city of Malden effective April 1st, 2023. Said term to expire April 1st, 2026. Confirmation not required.
On Councilor Linehan. On Councilor Linehan's motion to place the appointment on file, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment has been placed on file. Next order of business.
Paper 121-23, council reappointment, Vincent Margaglia of 40 Willard Street.
Maraglia.
Thank you. Maraglia, sorry. Of 40 Willard Street as a member of the Board of Trustees of the cemetery. Said term to expire March 1st, 2028. Confirmation required.
Councilor Linehan. Mr. Maraglia has been on the cemetery board for quite a while, so second. So on Councilor Linehan's motion to confirm the appointment, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The appointment has been confirmed. Next order of business.
Paper 122-23, reappointment, Ina Babitskia, 557 Pleasant Street, as a member of the Community Preservation Committee by the Malden Historical Commission. Term to expire February 28th, 2026. Confirmation not required.
Councilor Linehan. Oh. On Councilor Linehan's motion to place on file, seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have placed that on file.
Alrighty.
Okay, now we will open public hearing. So next order of business. Clerk, if you would read the paper into the record on behalf of the petitioner.
Paper 123-23, petition, Boston Gas, DBA National Grid, 40 Sylvan Road, Waltham. Work order 90000220058 to install a new natural gas regulator station on Summer Street near the intersection with Clifton Street to replace an existing regulator station on Washington Street in accordance with the attached plans.
Okay. I will declare the public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come to the podium and state your name and address. And I will put, there you go. Whoop.
Data Drive,
There you
Waltham,
go.
Massachusetts, and I'm in favor of the petition.
Okay, could you repeat that again,
Oh,
please?
sure. Diana Cuddy, National Grid, 170 Data Drive, Waltham, Massachusetts. And I'm in favor of the petition.
You're in favor of the, okay. Do we have any? Okay. Do we have any questions for the? Or do you want to wait till the end? All right. All right, you know what, we'll finish the pub. Yeah, I know. Do you have a? No, that's good. Yes, she does need.
Hi, welcome. Sorry. So usually there's like a presentation of what the project is. Sometimes there's diagrams. Diagrams have been shared ahead of time with both myself and Councilor Linehan. This project is on the cusp of Ward 4 and 3. And I do know that the applicant has met with the DPW director and Councilor Linehan. We were playing phone tag, but if you could maybe explain what the project is.
Sure, yes, exactly. We have an existing regulator station on Washington Street, and we are replacing it with a new one on Summer Street. And that's pretty much the gist of the project.
I have a diagram.
Yeah, it should have been attached to the grant application.
I have the diagram, but could it be helpful if she could give us address, like where they are on the street address, for those councils who might not have the copy of the diagram?
Yes.
I could forward to, I guess.
I can explain it. Could you explain approximately where it is?
Yes, let me just pull it up real quick. It is in the diagram that went with the set of plans that was attached to the grant allocation request and the abutter list. So the abutter list has all the addresses that are adjacent to the construction. But let me just pull it up so I can see exactly. So for the one on Washington Street that will no longer be in use.
Could you speak into the
Yes, I'm sorry.
microphone, please?
Yes. So for the regulator station on Washington Street that will no longer be in use, it's in front of 156 and 162 Washington Street. And for the new one on Summer Street, hold on a second. Okay. Summer Street. For the one on Summer Street, it's in front of 157 Summer Street, the regulator station.
Both Councilor Linehan and Councilor O'Malley are familiar with this site, having met with National Grid. So Councilor Linehan is going to explain to the council basically what's happening, and then Councilor O'Malley is going to speak.
Sure, so just to get a sense of place of where this is, at the train tracks where Clifton and Washington intersect, if you're coming up from the downtown, coming up Clifton, and you're gonna turn right on Washington towards Oak Grove, this is basically the left-hand side of the street, just a little ways up there. So Ward 3 and Ward 4 are each on two different sides of Washington Street, and this is essentially underground, more towards the left-hand side of the street as you're going up towards this train station. The new area that we're talking about will be at the intersection of Summer Street, where the complete street, the new signals were just put in a few months ago. This is not going to affect the new signals that went in, but that's the general area that we're talking about for the second piece. So just to give folks a sense of what the two areas are that we're talking about. Is that helpful?
And they're going into the sidewalk. Yep.
Sorry, we're going to just take a pause for a moment. It's okay, we're taking a 2-minute pause. Get a glass of water while we're-
Thank you. Thank you. So I have an idea, I have the map. I know where you're relocating it, which is, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile down the road. Why such a distance from relocating? Let me back up. So these are regulators that take, what, a high-pressure gas line and regulate them down to a smaller pressure to go into a house?
So they help enforce the whole system. They'll take a high pressure and then they'll lower it down for distribution
Yeah.
to residences, but they'll also, like for a day of high demand, the instrumentation inside is determining what the demand is downstream, so they'll increase the flow or decrease the flow depending on demand, so.
It's like a regulator.
Right.
So my question is, what made you choose moving it from the old location, which is certainly constricted based on the train tracks on one side there, but then moving it up to that location? What was the reasoning there? Just curiosity
Yep.
factor.
Yeah, no. I actually was just curious about that myself with another project, but the system, everything's in a computer system now. It's constantly reading the pressure and the demand all over the place, and it identifies areas where the pressure to a certain neighborhood or area should be at a certain level, and it's not consistently there, or it's borderline, so they'll move the regulator station closer to that area, and then the piping from there will go to that area.
So there's a direct correlation between where this piece of equipment is and the demand to accompany such needs, correct?
Right, and so we're taking the other one out, but usually there's also some siting issues. We can move them a little bit in different areas, but for example, I was here before for another one, and
oh, we know.
Logically, you would think to go around the corner, but that wasn't possible. Instead, it was better to go 2 blocks or 3
Yep.
blocks away or something like that. So yes, so there's siting and demand are the 2 considerations.
Yeah, and my only curiosity factor would be, you're going from a smaller street, certainly impactful, but going to the new area is a high-traffic, high-pedestrian area in the city. It crisscrosses basically, east to west, and is a cut-through for pedestrians as well as vehicular traffic because of the Oak Grove Community Train Station. And then you have Summer Street, which is a pretty, traverses from the square up to the western part of the city. I mean, just in terms of volume, there's a lot more traffic there in terms of service and things like that. That was my curiosity factor in where you're replacing it.
Right, sometimes it's a little farther away, it's like a little remote area or something
Yep.
like that, yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for entertaining my question, Madam President.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition for the third time, please come to the podium. Seeing none and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this particular petition, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please come to the podium. For the third time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please come to the podium. Seeing and hearing no one, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Open it to comments from the councilors. Councilor O'Malley.
So as I mentioned, we've spoken by email, and National Grid has talked to our DPW director and the ward councilor where the location is going to be moved to. I am in support. I think it needs to be done. One of the things that it was kind of an aha moment for me and others on the council, as well as our staff, is that National Grid is the only utility company or any really private entity that has a habit of abandoning their property in our public right-of-way. I know on Main Street there are at least 3 gas mains. I don't know how many are inactive. It makes it very difficult for any construction, whether it's National Grid or the electric company or the telephone company or us doing water lines. It makes it very difficult when we leave a lot of this infrastructure in the ground, especially gas infrastructure, because when a construction crew is coming across a gas line, they don't care if the plans say it's disconnected. They're going to treat it as though it's a live gas line because it's their life. I know, at least me personally, in my basement, I have 2 gas lines. One has been capped off, the other one hasn't. I just don't think that's the best practice, and it's a common practice in the past, but I think it's probably a good time now to set a standard that when gas equipment is end of life and new gas equipment needs to be put in, that the old gas equipment would be removed. That would be this regulator pit as well as the gas mains. And I would just give an example. When we put in new water mains, we don't leave the old water main in. We take the old one out. So if the city of Malden can do it for our water mains, I'm sure National Grid can do it for their gas mains and their gas infrastructure. I have talked to the DPW director. I have talked to the city solicitor. We believe this is reasonable. And I understand that you're going to need to kind of send it up the chain.
Right, so I did speak to our legal counsel on that as well, and they sent me an email back that we have a legal right to abandon in place as per the DPU and the SJC. I guess there was a court case on that, and our legal counsel is happy to talk with the city solicitor about it. I was just going to say one of the reasons why is because basically everything goes back to the ratepayers, and so to put in a new line and then have to dig the old one up and pave it, to have someone else come in and just dig up all the fresh fill and put whatever they're going to put in and then pave it. Stewards of the rate cases, we try not to burden the ratepayers with too many things like that. So that's one of the reasons why we abandon in place.
Understood. And so I did talk to the city solicitor about that. He does believe it's reasonable, and he would be willing to have that conversation with them. But I do think it makes sense that we go forward. I know some other communities are putting these conditions, and then from there, we will find out. But I do think it's best to set the precedent that if you're going to abandon your property in our street, you probably should remove it. It's just, we wouldn't allow that for any other private entity. And there's only so much right-of-way we have. So I would move that we grant this petition with the following conditions. Usually we have the standard ones. Do you want me to read them?
if you want to.
With the following conditions. One, that the engineer be called when DigSafe is notified. Two, that the streets and sidewalks be restored to the satisfaction of the DPW Director of Public Works. And three, that all the old equipment, including the gas regulator pit, any gas mains and gas pipes, whether they are serving private homes, be removed. That would be my motion.
Associated with that, anything associated with that area.
Exactly.
Seconded by Councilor Linehan. Thank you. I need a handler. The petition has been approved with conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Crowe. Did you have a question for?
Sorry, it's really not about this petition in particular, but in ordinance committee, we have been looking at an ordinance around the double pole situation. So we used to have double poles, we've heard about triple poles, and so I just kind of wanted to send this message back, and I will, I'm going to suggest that maybe not at this meeting, but another one, that we require an inventory of the double poles that we have in Malden before we move forward with any of the other things that belong on poles, because we do have, talk about abandoned, we still have them sitting around, and it's kind of a problem. So I would make that motion that we require that now before we move forward with other petitions.
So I just want to offer one thing. So we've reached an agreement with Verizon. We own the pole going into the ground because our wires are the top ones. So we'll put the pole in, set our wires, and Verizon owns the pole coming out. They coordinate with the other utility, electric, cable and whatever, and themselves, and then when everything gets over, they're responsible for taking the pole out. And I can actually send you someone's contact information on that at Verizon.
Okay.
All right.
It seems to be other debate, so I'm not sure if it's.
We're good, brother.
Councilor O'Malley was.
I didn't mean to cut you up, but I will. Well, and it's the same. I was going to say that this is very related to the fact that there are abandoned gas lines in the road.
Correct.
And they're, abandoning poles and electrical equipment by the same entity is very related. I would support your motion. I do think it's important that National Grid, especially as an entity that calls Malden a home and has multiple campuses, I think that we should be getting the best treatment possible. So I would second your motion, Councilor Crowe.
Can I just amend, because as she just had mentioned that it's actually, they put the pole in the ground and then it's Verizon that has control of the pole. So maybe we have it a little more broad, that it is whoever is the person that required to get rid of the pole.
Which is Verizon.
Yes, and I have a point of information too. Councilor Spatafora.
I'll let the two councils debate on the wording. I think the clarification, though, is we're not asking you to remove the poles yet. What we're asking for is a list that usually we were able to go to Dan Cameron, that is facilitated, which I believe you share with Verizon. There's a system, I don't know the name, where a list gets generated of all the inventory of double poles. We would like a copy of that list to see the inventory of those double poles, and then we understand that we'd have to go to Verizon or Comcast to get what's the next wire down. We're very familiar, unfortunately, with the process. Oftentimes, it used to be the city of Malden. It was the lagger because of the fire alarm system. But the good news is we no longer have wires in the sky anymore. All our fire alarm systems are wireless. So really what the hang up is, it's either National Grid not moving the wires, Verizon, or said cable company, because there's multiple cable companies. So if you could provide a list to us, you can email it to the clerk, that would be my condition, if that's fair.
I am on the gas side, but I can reach out to someone in electric. I think if Dan was able to get it, I should be able to get it too. But if we set a pole, we always put our wires up, because they're
You guys go to the top, that's right, you're the primary, I got it. But we have no idea how many outstanding wires there are, and I think that's what Councilor Crow's point was. We want to get a gut check to see what's going on there, because The last time it was a triple pole, we were able to get that down pretty quickly. We're just hoping to avoid that situation again. And I'll let Councilor O'Malley tie it up. Thank you, Madam President.
And I was just going to say, the gas and electric are regulated very differently. So what applies for abandoning and this and that are different regulations. And like I was mentioning, Verizon owns the poles going out. So.
And to tie the bow really nice, if we could also get a list or a map of your abandoned gas lines, that would also be great.
I don't know if we have that.
Well, it's a request.
It's just
Basically,
it's
it's a
part of the-
request that we're making to you tonight. It's going to be a motion for a list of double poles and abandoned gas lines, to kind of tie this to the initial docket item. And you can get back to us with, you know, a response. You can provide it or you can't provide it, et cetera.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
Just so you do know, because I know you're relatively new to us here, you know, we have in the past stopped approving requests until we can get some answers, especially on these double poles. Okay, because we go through this, we've been going through this for, well, 14 years now, to my knowledge. So every once in a while, you know, you need to get rid of some of them. And we know it's Comcast, Verizon, and National Grid, but someone owns the pole, so.
Right, and I have the Verizon person that's dedicated. I have his contact information. I'll send that to the city clerk, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so would you like to restate the motion, Councilor Crowe?
Well, since Councilor O'Malley tied it up in a bowl, he might as well.
Councilor O'Malley, would you like to restate the motion, and Councilor Crowe will second it?
That it's the sense of the City Council that National Grid, Gas and Electric provide a list of double poles and any abandoned gas lines as practicable.
Seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolve is passed. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Paper 124-23, petition, livery, Casan Demito, 411 Salem Street, one vehicle renewal. Paper 125-23, petition, outdoor parking, AGM Auto Sales, 135 Eastern Ave, 24 spaces, renewal. Paper 126-23, petition, outdoor parking, Andreas Citos, 25 to 37 Florence Street, Malden, 34 spaces, renewal. Paper 127-23, petition, outdoor parking, Andrea Citos, 29 Madison Street, Malden, 40 spaces, renewal. Paper 128-23, petition, pawnbroker, Arcal Jewelers, and AC Loan, 56 Pleasant Street, Malden. Renewal. Paper 129-23, petition, pawnbroker, Golden Diamonds, etc., Incorporated, 27-29 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 130-23, petition, secondhand dealer, Arcal Jewelers, and AC Loan, 56 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 131-23, petition, secondhand dealer, Golden Diamonds, etc., Incorporated, 27-29 Pleasant Street, renewal. Paper 132-23, petition, self-service gas station, SnapMart, Inc., 245 Main Street, renewal. Paper 133-23, petition, self-service gas station, Speedway, number 2504, at 214 Broadway, renewal. Paper 134-23, petition, self-service gas station, Wash Depot 1, Incorporated, 333 Eastern Avenue, renewal.
On Councilor Seeker's motion to refer the petitions to license, seconded by Councilor Spatafora. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The petitions have been referred to license. Next order of business.
Paper 135-23, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, 2.16.005 Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board of Trustees is hereby amended.
Councilor McDonald.
This is a proposal to update the ordinance that describes the role of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to describe some of the work that they're already doing and clarify that, like around their Affordable Housing Action Plan. And so I'd make a motion that it be referred to the Rules and Ordinance Committee.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer the paper to Rules and Ordinance, seconded by Councilor Spatafora. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Papers referred to Rules and Ordinance. Next order of business, please.
Paper 136-23, be it hereby ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden be amended by updating Title II, Chapter 20, Sections 30, 40, 50, and 60 as is related to non-union employee compensation by adding a 3% cost of living adjustment effective July 1st, 2022 to the officer, specialist, clerk, and unclassified salary schedules.
Madam
Councilor-
President, yeah.
It's a Councilor Crowe and Councilor McDonald. Pardon me?
Yes, so I'll make a motion that we refer this paper to a joint hearing of the Rules and Ordinance Committees and Finance Committee.
I'll second that. On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to a joint Rules and Ordinance and Finance Committee, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper has been referred to joint ordinance, Rules and Ordinance and Finance Committee. Okay. Next order of business.
Paper 137-23, order that the City Council approve an additional 2% COLA for the FY23 retroactive to July 1st, 2022 for all retirees and survivors of the Malden retirement system.
Councilor McDonald?
Actually, you can read all 4 of these papers and we'll just refer them all to Finance.
Can we take them separately?
We can.
Thank you.
Okay. So, on paper 137-23, I make a motion that we refer this to the Finance Committee.
Motion by Councilor McDonald to refer to Finance, seconded by Councilor Sika. Sika, you're on Finance, right? Seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Papers referred to Finance.
Paper 138-23, order that the sum of $2 million is appropriated from available Water Sewer Enterprise Fund retained earnings to be used for continued lead line replacement throughout the city.
Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, and if the President will just permit me very briefly. So for folks who are watching, my name is on all of these documents, and yet they are not originating from me. These appropriations come from the mayor and the finance staff, and as the chair of the Finance Committee, I carry them through the council process. So I just want everyone to see there's a lot of papers just today, and I do expect more, like our community development block grants. So we're going to have to do some very careful scheduling of the Finance Committee to manage all of the deadlines that are involved in all of these papers, mindful that the budget process is coming up as well. So we want to make sure that we have good time to get good information and discussion and process on all of these pieces as they're due. And so I just want to let everybody know we're going to have to spend some quality time in the Finance Committee in the coming weeks and months in order to process all of these requests from the city staff. So with that, I'll make a motion to refer paper 138-23 to the Finance Committee.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer to Finance, seconded by Councilor Sika. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Papers referred to Finance.
Paper 139-23, order that $1.3 million of available general fund free cash is appropriated to fund additional costs associated with the improvements to Roosevelt Park.
Councilor McDonald.
I'll make a motion that we refer this as well to the Finance Committee.
Okay, and we have a light on by Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'll try to be brief. I just want to make sure that I do state what I have to say. And I do think it's important to kind of inform the full council, because not all of the council serves on finance. And I think it's just important to inform the community. So I do want to thank the community, particularly Friends of Roosevelt Park, for helping lead the city closer to removing the lead and other contamination down to 3 feet at Roosevelt Park to allow grass. As many people know, the mayor and a coalition of councilors came up with a really common sense alternative that would have decontaminated Roosevelt Park, installed a state-of-the-art natural grass field, and also would have funded the replacement of what is currently a dangerous and end-of-life turf field at Maplewood Park in Ward 7. This proposal, I believe, would have had broad support in the City Council. And unfortunately, what is presented right now is not that. What the mayor has presented is a very different proposal that unfortunately does double down on turf at Roosevelt Park. And in fact, the mayor's proposing that we use our free cash. So not taking out a loan, but just using the money from our savings account to fund that turf field. I personally think that the free cash should be used to decontaminate the soil. It should be the opposite. And I hope that that is something that we can work on in finance. Because I do think that putting the decontamination as the bonding request really sets this up to fail. And I don't think that that's fair to put it on the council to make it look like we not being able to pass a bond says that we're okay with the contamination in the ground. I don't think that's the case. I think that the free cash should really be used for the cleanup. And it makes sense anyway, because you're gonna have to clean it up first before you do grass or turf. The other thing is, we do have ARPA funds available. We have a lot of ARPA funds available, we heard that. And that money has been thrown around in very great ways, but very freely. So I know that, Trafton has gotten money, Deborah Park has gotten money, a lot of different programs have gotten money, and they're all great projects. I don't see why we can't, rather than use our own money, use money that's gonna disappear if we don't use it. I don't think we should leave anything on the table. Sorry. And then, I do think rather than doubling down on turf at Roosevelt, we should go to that common sense plan, and we should remediate Maplewood Park with the grant funding or with the bonding authorization that is being requested. And I do want to just raise a red flag. When we have these types of big expenditures right before the budget season, it does have a habit of kind of pigeonholing us and backing us into a corner. I do think it makes sense that conversations like these maybe be part of the overall budget process, but I don't think that should hold up decontamination. And I would, if maybe a friendly amendment, and if not, I understand. In addition to sending it for discussion at the Finance Committee, I'd like to maybe do a joint Finance and Community Preservation Committee meeting to talk about how we can utilize the existing funding and the proposed new funding. Thank you.
To refer to finance. There's a motion on the floor, refer to finance. So that one needs to go first.
Yeah, I don't know that we can jointly have a hearing with the Community Preservation Committee because they're not a council committee. Yeah, so that would not be the.
Councilor McDonald has the first made the first motion.
So, are you making a motion, Councilor O'Malley, to amend my referral?
If I can respond if you'd like, but I have to be turned off. Sorry. Yeah, to Councilor McDonald's question, my proposal is that we don't just send this this matter to finance, but we send this to a joint meeting, not a hearing, a joint meeting between the Finance Committee and the Community Preservation Committee, which is the other entity that is providing funding for this project.
For what purpose? Let's take this in order. Everyone, if we're going to have a discussion on this, let's put our lights on so I can kind of control what's going on here. Councilor Seeker, did you want to speak? You good? Okay. Okay, Councilor Cologne-Hayes.
Yes, thank you. I also just want to say I'm glad this came up, and thank you to Friends of Roosevelt Park for their constant push to get that lead remediated. It was so helpful, and thank you. I think this is why we're here. Also, would like to talk about in finance. I know it's going to get referred there, but ARPA funding. I have spoken to Ron Hogan and Deb Burke, and there is some opportunity to use ARPA funding. So when it does get referred to finance, I just want to make sure that we talk about that too. Thank you.
Councilor McDonald.
Is this a motion is this duly moved and seconded, the amendment to my motion? Is that where we are in this, or?
It's a friendly amendment to refer it to.
So I will say I do not want to accept that particular friendly amendment because one of the other pieces to this is that there's a memo from the mayor that outlines this, this proposal that didn't make it onto the agenda in time. That needs to be included into the agenda for the finance committee. I think that we have to be able to talk. The purpose of the committee is so that we can talk to each other in detail. And right now, we're just trying to get it into that discussion venue. I'm very happy to have to make sure that we have time to talk about sources of financing, to ask for more information and detail from city staff about the project, about the proposals, about other possibilities. I mean, this is the purpose of inviting staff to discuss and to reach out to the CPC. But I think that the order of operations here is that we have to get together to understand what we would be asking the CPC into. I have a concern as the chair of the finance committee that when we reach out to the CPC, that we are clear about the capacity that we're reaching out to them. So I would like for us to get on the same page about that, but I agree that, it's important to have them be a part of the process as a part of the funding for the project. So I would like to refer it to the finance committee and we can talk about it there.
Second. You good with that? Okay.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, this one goes first.
Well, you were first, Councilor McDonald.
I am done with that is the motion I think that's on the floor.
That's the first motion on the floor.
Yes, so,
Seconded by Sika.
Right, so.
Mine's on the floor too, but his goes first.
His goes first.
Succeeds and mine's-
Right,
Okay.
exactly. All right, so I would like a roll call on this, please. This is a motion or for finance?
Okay, on Council McDonald's motion to refer to finance, seconded by Councilor Sika. Councilor Cologne Hayes,
No.
Councilor Condon, Councilor Crowe,
Yes.
Councilor Linehan, Councilor McDonald,
yes.
Councilor O'Malley,
No.
Councilor Sika, Councilor Simonelli, Councilor Spatafora, Councilor Winslow, Council President Murphy.
Yes. Papers referred to finance. Next order of business, please.
No.
It's referred, it's moved.
So we're gonna refer.
Okay. Paper 140-23, order that $1,200,000 is appropriated to pay costs related to a change in scope of the Roosevelt Park Revitalization Project to excavate additional soils down to a level of 3 feet, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under MGL Chapter 44, Section 7.1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the city therefore.
Councilor McDonald,
Move to refer to finance.
seconded by Councilor Sika. Clerk will call the roll. Oh, Councilor O'Malley, sorry, I'm
Be
sorry.
much quicker. Can we make sure that we invite the city treasurer, the chief financial officer, who's also our controller? And, yeah, again, I think that this is not sufficient. I think that this should really not be a bond for the decontamination, but this should just be pure free cash. Thank you.
There actually is a grant they're applying for, so hopefully this bond would never even take place. It's actually, the plan is, which we will discuss more in finance, but the plan is actually to try to get a grant to actually remediate the soil, and therefore the bond would not be needed. But in order for the project to move forward, we need to know that the money is available, so we'll have that question. Yes, Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. When you say that they're going out to get a grant, what's the time frame for that?
I don't know the exact time frame on it right now, which is why we need the bond to actually start the project. So, I mean,
So they get reimbursed by the grant? They
Right.
start the project with other funding and then
Yes.
get reimbursed by the grant? Because I know that we've been running into problems where the interest rate has been going up because the project has been delayed. So I thought we were going for a grant, and I don't know how long that would take. But you're saying that they're gonna go after other funding
Yes.
mechanism
the goal is to go
and
after.
to replace it with a grant.
Yes. So hopefully hopefully we would get the grant, it would come in before we actually needed the money, and we would never have to bond.
Okay.
But that's kind of the goal. And that's all explained in the paper that Councilor McDonald was stating that came down from the mayor. So once we get into finance, we'll be able to have an in-depth discussion on like how the whole project is expected to move forward.
And Madam President, I just want to say, Councilor O'Malley, I hear your request, so I'm going to make a note and make sure that we invite the treasurer and the CFO to when we talk to the finance committee when we talk about this.
Absolutely. Clerk will call the roll, please.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to refer the paper to finance, seconded by Councilor Seega. Councilor Cologne Hayes? Yes. Councilor Crowe?
Yes.
Councilor Linehan? Yes. Councilor McDonald?
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley?
Yes.
Councilor Seega? Yes. Councilor Simonelli?
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora?
Yes.
Councilor Winslow? Yes. Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Okay, 10-0.
Council President, if I just may say one
Yes.
minute. I just want to let folks from the public know, first of all, I appreciate everyone's extreme interest in this, in particularly the Roosevelt Park projects. We will well publicize when we're going to be talking about these things and make sure that materials that are discussed at the meeting are posted publicly. I appreciate the time folks have taken to send in their public comment. And I just want to assure folks that the intent here is to make sure that we have the time as counselors to dig into these proposals and get the information we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald. I can finally turn your light off. Next order of business, please.
Paper 141-23, order that the Public Property Committee request the utilities inspect the wires and trim the tree at 77 Glenrock Avenue or otherwise resolve the issue.
Councilor Linehan, one moment for the paper.
Thank you, Madam President. So my desire is to refer this to the Public Property Committee. Just by way of background, the resident at 77 Glenrock is elderly, and her two sons have been in contact with myself about a tree that is on the private portion of their property, but which a series of utility lines are basically cutting right through. We've had the tree warden out to look at the situation. Even though it is a private tree, the utility lines are, we feel potentially at risk of damaging the tree, and thankfully we didn't have a tough winter, but the residents would like for us to communicate with the utilities to come inspect and potentially trim back where their wires are affecting the integrity of the tree. In looking at it, the tree warden and I feel that you can tell by process of elimination that the wires most in danger of compromising the tree are actually the telecommunications, which traditionally is something that we would deal with in the Public Property Committee. So while the property and the tree are not public property, our hope is that this would be the correct forum to bring the utilities in to make a formal request for them to actually trim this tree and just basically get their power lines out of the way. The cost of doing this privately, I think, for this resident is beyond what she can afford, and so her, as I said, grown children who live overseas actually have been corresponding with me for the past few months to try to find a solution here. Our tree warden has assured me that if this isn't something that we're able to resolve with the utilities, that we will do everything else in our power to help this resident locate, lower cost ways of paying for it privately. We do want to help find a way to get a solution for her, but my hope is that by bringing this to the attention of the utilities, they can make a really simple trim and that we can resolve this for the benefit of the resident and the safety of the tree.
I don't see any questions, comments. Okay. Councilor O'Malley. Oops.
I'm in support of this. I just hope there's a tree there once they're done cutting. They're crazy.
I know.
So on Councilor Linehan's motion to refer this to public property, seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Paper will be referred to public properties. Next order of business, please.
Paper 429-22, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden 2.12.170 Recreation Programs Recreational Coordinator be amended. This has already been enrolled and we're voting to ordain.
Councilor Winslow.
So I just make a motion to ordain. This is the ordinance related to making clear that the rec department can enforce its own regulations that it just adopted. So that's the main purpose. Thank you.
On Councilor Crowe, motion to? I'm sorry. Motion to ordain by Councilor Crowe, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Oh, clerk, would you call the roll on that one? Yeah, the witness, please call
Councilor
the roll.
Cologne Hayes? Councilor Crowe? Councilor Linehan? Councilor McDonald? Councilor O'Malley? Councilor Seega? Councilor Simonelli? Councilor Spatafora? Councilor Winslow?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Okay.
Next order of business, please.
Paper 143-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred paper 101 of 23. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends that this paper be recommended out favorably to the full City Council. And for anybody reading along, I apologize for the typo that was on the original agenda.
Okay. On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Committee report is received. Clerk, if you would please read the paper.
Paper 101-23, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $400,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Kierstead Park Improvement Project, $400,000 from General Reserve. Total appropriation $400,000.
Councilor McDonald for the committee. Oh, let me get you one, Councilor McDonald. There you go.
Madam President, we had the CPC co-chairs and coordinator in to discuss this and the next project. Both are component funding from the CPC as part of larger projects. Kierstead Park is one that we've already talked about in this meeting and had unanimous support for moving forward in the Finance Committee. A lot of excitement about that. So I'm happy to make a motion that we approve, but also happy to wait. And Councilor Simonelli wants to add any comments, or anyone else does, about the project?
No.
Okay. So, Councilor Winslow, I see your light on.
No, I want to thank Councilor Simonelli for picking up the ball that Councilor Anderson and I took on to get the master planning done, and and it's great to see that this project is funded and going forward. Kierstead, I think, is sometimes an overlooked potential jewel, and I think this project will really make this park a much more recognizable and usable park. So I appreciate Councilor Simonelli, the CPC, for moving this forward. Thank you.
So on Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt the order, seconded by Councilor Simonelli, clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilor Cologne Hayes? Councilor Crowe? Councilor Linehan? Councilor McDonald? Councilor O'Malley? Councilor Seega? Councilor Simonelli? Councilor Spatafora? Councilor Winslow? Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Okay.
Next order of business, please.
Paper 144-23, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on Finance, to whom was referred paper 102 of 23. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends this paper out favorably to the full council.
On Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The report is received. Clerk, if you would please read the order.
Paper 102-23, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $550,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Early Learning Center Playground Project, $550,000 from General Reserve.
Councilor McDonald for the paper.
As I said, this is another proposal that came through the CPC to remake the Early Learning Center playground. I just can't say enough how much both of these parks are in desperate need of this investment. And just a couple of fun facts about the Early Learning Center project. One is that the CPC worked with our city staff to be very clear. They wanted to make sure that the playground was open to the public, and so there was signage about that. They also identified the fact that we need to make sure we have a deed to the property, which I thought was interesting and have meant to follow up with the solicitor about. I'm curious how many other things we own deedlessly. But I think so this is $550,000 from the CPC as part of a total $900,000 project, the remaining intended to come from community development block grants. So again, it had unanimous support, a lot of support from the Disability Commission, and you heard that in our public comment. So any other comments about this? And I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
On Councilor O'Malley.
So I would second the motion to approve, and, I just want to, thank the city. I particularly want to thank one of the ELC parents, Amin, who really kind of was the catalyst for this project, was really concerned about the fact that there was so much heat and like really no trees. So the fact that we're going to increase the amount of landscaping. I am biased and impartial. This is my elementary school. It wasn't called the ELC at the time, but I am really happy to be able to take this vote and give my elementary school a new playground. It's really quite heartwarming. Thank you.
Absolutely. On Councilor McDonald's motion to adopt the order, seconded by Councilor O'Malley, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor Linehan. Yes. Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Simonelli. Yes. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Councilor Winslow. Yes. Council President Murphy.
Yes. Okay, the order has been adopted. Are you going to take something off the table, Councilor Winslow? One second, Councilor Winslow. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a motion to take paper 3223 off the table. This is the regulation of bike trails, so thank you.
On Councilor Winslow's motion to take paper off the table, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Paper is off the table. Councilor
Okay,
Winslow for the paper.
I'm just passing down, I know as we were enrolling last time, there was some conversation that, Chief Cronin and Lieutenant Tuxbury from the Malden Police wanted to make sure they had a little bit more time, and even Councilor Murphy wanted to have a little more time to discuss this. So Councilor Murphy and I sat down with Chief Cronin and Lieutenant Tuxbury to go over this and get the feedback from the police department. Lieutenant Tuxbury has been thinking about the challenge of, there are motorized things on our bicycle trail and how best to regulate that. So we had a good conversation. And, one of the things I think Lieutenant Tuxbury really emphasized is that we need clarity. Councilor Murphy brought up, like, why are we even doing this? Don't we already have the ability to ban any motor vehicle thing out there, and why make more specificity? But Lieutenant Tuxbury really emphasized that, as a law enforcement official, specificity is very important, so we're not doing sort of selective enforcement. And he thought it was really important to add some provisions. So what I handed out, you'll see there's a little bit bolder language here that's been added in the definition sections about mopeds, motorized scooters, and motorized uniwheels. So those are a couple things that, particularly Lieutenant Tuxbury really thinks that we need to be very specific. He's not certain under the current ordinance we could enforce against mopeds or motorized scooters. And I think it came up in rules and ordinance we talked about. We didn't really think, it was drafted. I drafted it with the intent that motorized uniwheels not be allowed on the trail. So as a result of those conversations, I've drafted up these new definitions. And then in section 3, we just specified those new 3 things that we defined are now not, acceptable motor vehicles. So I would make a motion to amend the paper with these new changes that are highlighted, and then we can, I guess, re-enroll. I don't know what the exact process is, but so we had ordained, but I don't know if we have to make a motion to unenroll and then. I don't think it was ever. Oh, we didn't enroll it. Okay, so we didn't enroll it. Okay, so I would make a motion to amend paper 32-23 per these modifications about adding definitions for a moped, motorized scooter, and motorized uniwheel, and then adding provisions that make clear that no person shall use or operate a motorized vehicle, moped, motorized scooter, or motorized uniwheel, or any other vehicle or device capable of motorized operation on a multi-use trail, except an authorized maintenance vehicle, an emergency vehicle, including police, fire, and emergency medical services, an electric-powered device no wider than 36 inches, designed specifically to provide low-speed indoor and outdoor mobility to a disabled individual, and then electric bike or an electric scooter. So that's just to add that specificity that Lieutenant Tuxbury suggested that we add. So I make that motion to amend.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilor Cologne Hayes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So, okay.
We have a
Motion to a roll then?
Opposed, aye.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Me
So
too.
then I make a motion to enroll. Thank you.
Seconded by, motion to enroll the ordinance by Councilor Winslow, seconded by Councilor Seeker. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilor Cologne Hayes?
Yeah, that's what you lied.
Councilor Crowe? Councilor Linehan? Councilor McDonald? Councilor O'Malley? Councilor Seeker? Councilor Simonelli? Councilor Spatafora? Councilor Winslow?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes. The next order of business.
The docket is clear.
The docket is clear, and here go the lights for personal. Oh, my goodness, this is quick. I know. Councilor Seeker.
Thank you, Council President. Okay, I got a few, so bear with me. I want to wish everybody a happy Passover and a happy Easter next week. Passover starts the 5th, then Easter is on the 9th. And Councilor Spatafora and I would like to invite everyone down to the Linden Park for our annual egg hunt on Saturday, April 8th at 10 a.m. with a special visit from the Easter Bunny himself. We also have scheduled our annual cleanup day for Ward 8. It will start at 9 a.m. I posted the list, I think yesterday, of the street times that we will be hitting the streets with the sweeper, and we will also be having the clothing drive once again in the parking lot of the Linden Steam Academy at 29 Westcott Street. So if anybody's doing some spring cleaning from now until then, the truck is collecting clean, bagged, and odor-free clothing and textiles such as footwear, outerwear, linens, blankets, quilts, stuffed toys, handbags, canvas bags, tablecloths, placemats, you name it. They're accepting it, and that proceeds from this clothing drive is going to benefit the Malden Public Schools. And then finally, we have our fishing derby that went live for registration yesterday. Back in the fall, we were unable to host our fishing derby due to the drought with no rain. So we had said that we were gonna do it this spring instead. We have officially set up for Saturday, May 20th at 10 a.m. at Pine Banks Park. As of a little while ago, we already have 80 kids signed up with just over a little over 24 hours, so that's pretty amazing. Last year's event, we had 76 kids register, so we're already ahead of the game by 4, and it's only been a little over 24 hours. So I spoke to Denise and Peter at Fishing Fanatics, so if anybody doesn't have any gear or needs equipment for this event, they can go over to Main Street in Everett to Fishing Fanatics and see Denise and Peter, and they'll get them all geared up and ready to go for the Fishing Derby on Saturday, May 20th. Thank you.
One moment, I lost my screen here. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that Zonta is having their Women Making a Difference event this Thursday, March 30th. And I wanted to congratulate all the women making a difference. Julie Mangan, who is a neighbor, also a longtime board member of Fuji, and now takes care of amazing of the community gardens, is being honored. So I'm very excited about that. Andrea So, Zaida Ortiz, and the Malden Overcoming Addiction. And if you cannot show up to buy a ticket because it's a sit-down meal, but if you do want to attend, there's still some time, and you can email zontaclubofmalden@gmail.com. And I'm excited to present this. I recently was accepted to be a Zonchin, so I'm excited to be able to announce this and be my first event as a member. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Linehan?
Thank you. I also have a few things. The first is I just wanted to remind folks that this Thursday night and in just a couple days is the kickoff fundraiser for 2023 Porch Fest at 110 Grill. That's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. So I think 10% of the proceeds for dine-in. I don't think it's takeout, but I'm looking at Councilor McDonald. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll hear about it from the co-organizers if I get that wrong. But there will be raffle prizes, and 10% of everybody's bill who dines in is going to benefit Porch Fest, so come on down. It should be a great time to get to know some of the other folks involved and raise money for Porch Fest. I also wanted to just note quickly, while we were having our meeting tonight, the passing of a legendary activist in the Boston area. Those of you who work in planning and affordable housing, Mel King actually passed away tonight. I just wanted to read a quick blurb. He's truly an icon. Anybody who I think has a background in community organizing or who has done any affordable housing work in this area, is impossible not to have crossed paths with Mel King over the years. He was 94 years old. He, is probably best known for his fight for affordable housing in the South End. He actually also served 5 terms in the legislature. He's responsible for the community garden movement in Massachusetts. He also filed the legislation that made MLK Day a state holiday. And he founded a program at MIT that encourages youth from communities of color to join in urban planning and actually make urban planning their field of study and their career. So I had the pleasure of meeting him actually with our mayor at an event about the future of the Orange Line about 10 years ago in Jackson Square. And it felt like royalty when I met him at the time, and I count myself very lucky to have ever had an in-person interaction with him. So I just wanted to make note of that. And then if it's okay with you, Madam President, I'd actually like to do our moment of silence as well for a notable Ward 3 resident who passed 2 weeks ago, but I wanted to wait for an opportunity for us to be on camera. If any of you know Mimi Callahan, who lived on Hawthorne Street, she was the widow of Eddie Callahan, who was killed in the line of duty 60 years ago this year in 1963. There was a market robbery on the corner of Pleasant and Pearl Street. He was a very young man with 2 young kids at the time. She became a widow with 2 young children. And I know our police department has honored her and commemorated the anniversary of his passing over the years. She did pass a couple of weeks ago. I had the pleasure of speaking with not just our chief, but actually her grandson, Joshua, who until a recent move to Florida was also a Malden police officer. Eddie Callahan's grandfather was an immigrant from Ireland, was also a police officer, as was his son, who died tragically of cancer at a young age, and at that point, the badge number that he had was actually permanently retired. So Mimi was definitely a friend and neighbor and inspiration to so many, and not just Ward 3, but the entire city. So I appreciate the opportunity to have a moment of silence in her memory. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, as we focus a little bit on our Malden Police, I want to give credit to our Malden Police Department today, who had to deal with an issue at Malden Catholic of a threat. As we, had the moment of silence, and our hearts go out to all the people in Nashville for that tragedy. Our police were dealing with something right here in Malden, at Malden Catholic, that call in about a concern there, and also the firearm that was stolen from the state trooper. Malden police were involved in recovering that, so I think those are, a couple of great instances where we are being vigilant as a community in terms of with our schools and firearms, so that that we're doing everything we can to avoid that tragedy. So great credit to the Malden Police today on that. I'd also like to give credit to the police and all the folks involved with Malden Overcoming Addiction. I went to the vigil on Sunday and just heard the amazing testimonials of people who have gone through that program and focusing on staying sober. Just an amazing testimonial. The number that was reported is that, in Malden, our, rate of, people being impacted by substance abuse is down 50% because of all these in-person, one-on-one efforts. So it's a great credit to, MOA, our administration, and all the councils who support that. I know the folks that are on our coalition there. So, but it's a very impressive thing. And then I also want to finally thank all the folks that came out on the Northern Strand Trail this weekend. We had well over 20 people. I was worried on Friday afternoon I might have a handful because it was going to be so cold, but we ended up with 20 people. Kathy Sullivan came out. Thank you, Kathy. And we cleaned up basically from the Valley Forum up into part of Ward 8. So we got to work on, JD, we got to work on a little bit of your stretch there. But, it was kind of with not a lot of snow, there's a lot of wind-blown trash on the trail. And I like getting out early because once all those thorny bushes start to grow, it's hard to get at that stuff. So it really made a difference. And then the next day, I think the Melrose Running Club came and ran down. So it was good that we could do a good show already. And, there'll be more cleanups coming up as well as one on Earth Day that Friends of the Malden River and Bike to the Sea are organizing on Medford and Canal Street. So, but that was great. We, cleaned up a lot more than I thought. So thank you to all those volunteers. Thanks.
Okay. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say that next Tuesday, April 4th at 5:30, the Ordinance Committee meeting, Ordinance Committee will be meeting here in the council chamber with consultants from OSPCD and the planning board to discuss the MBTA zoning ordinances around the communities of multifamily zoning around the MBTA requirements. So that's going to be a big lift. There's a lot of work to be done. And so we started that conversation, but this is the only meeting that's going to happen next Tuesday at 5:30, so it's in no conflict, because I do think we all need to really get an understanding of what needs to happen, what we're going to do, and how we're going to move forward. So we're going to televise it as well, just to make sure that everybody gets the information. But again, it's going to be next Tuesday at 5:30, April 4th, here in the council chambers. So I hope everyone's there. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Councilor McDonald.
Ramadan Mubarak, a happy month of Ramadan, which began on Wednesday, to all those who celebrate, and just ask folks to remember that folks may be fasting during the day, if that, in different contexts you may be in. Also, I want to congratulate the Malden Warming Center on another successful season that's wrapping up. I have volunteered nowhere near as much as I would have liked to this season, and I know a number of us do. And so I just think, I can't say enough for their staff and volunteers that make such a hospitable space for their guests. And it's a beautiful show of support for housing stability in our community. I wanted to let everybody know that the Green Malden Fair, which I mentioned earlier, the website is live at cityofmalden.org/greenmalden. We're putting up some banners. This is going to be Saturday, April 15th from 1 to 4 p.m. at Pine Banks Park. So mixing up the venues there. And there's there's an indoor option if it's rain. So far, the folks who will be presenting there in various booths. First, we'll have the kickoff to our climate action planning community process and have some workshops there, including led by Emily Granoff, who is the grant writer who was mentioned, who is now taking on additional sustainability focus as part of her portfolio. Congratulations, Emily. We'll also have a shrub seedling giveaway, lead health homes rehab and home energy assessment information, a Bike to the Sea bike kitchen demo, Blue Bikes demo with a free 30-day pass giveaway, Black Earth composting, stay tuned for an announcement about that, complete streets engagement planning, Malden River Works, paper shred cycling, yes, you can bring confidential documents and have them shredded, bulk styrofoam recycling, that's a hard one to find, encourage you to take advantage of that, e-waste recycling, so computers, keyboards, things with those complex batteries that have been sitting in the bottom of your closet like they've been sitting in mine, time to bring them to the Green Malden Fair and get them off your conscience. And the National Grid discount rate. And then the following weekend, we're tying into The clothing drive, as Councilor Sika mentioned, bike path cleanup, Arbor Day at Forestdale Cemetery, and a Malden River cleanup. So a lot of Earth Day things happening. Come on out. It'll be a family-friendly event on Saturday, April 15th. And I was also texted to remind folks that the Malden Porch Fest website is also now live at maldenporchfest.com. A member of my household is also on the planning team. And so you can sign up to host or play. Thank you.
Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I promise I'm going to be short. I had no intention of doing a personal, what do we call this, personal privilege, but I was actually inspired by some of the things that were said tonight. And my motif is going to be about unity. You know, the Warming Center, MOA, so many faiths having a holiday right now. The Northern Strand Trail, which connects our community. I think it's projects like these and organizations like these that really make our community a great place to live. I know we all have our different parts and to play our different roles in those different organizations. So thank you to each of you. Thank you to those organizations for making our community worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Madam President. On Saturday, April 8th, from 10 to 12 at the DAV at 83 Willow Street, I will be hosting a pancake breakfast for the neighborhood. We have a special guest hopping by. Hopping by, if you get read between the lines, and you know, it's a good time to get the neighborhood. It's a good time to get the neighborhood folks out. We're going to be doing. We're going to have the hopper inside the DAV set up in a stage-like setting, so people can take some pictures with their children. And it's a good time to come and relax and, you know, talk about things going on in the city and kind of take a breath of fresh air and know who your neighbor is. And these are just one of many projects that we'll be doing down in Ward 7 because, like I've said in the past, I think it's very important, especially post-COVID, that we have a lot of activities in and throughout the neighborhood so people can get to know their neighbors and get new friends. So, and you don't have to just be from Ward 7 to come down to the party, down to the pancake breakfast. We invite everybody. Ward 7 loves everybody. So you are all more than welcome to come on down. And we're giving out goodie bags, and inside those goodie bags, there is a special gold egg in a few of them.
Ooh.
That's right. And old Hoppy got something for you. That's exactly correct. Willie Simonelli Chocolate Factory. I like that. That's got a good little tone to it. But no, listen, everybody's welcome to come on down. You know, while supplies last, I guess, for everybody. I have a good crew of friends and family, and they're very welcoming, and we have a lot of laughs down there. It's right directly across from the skateboard park, so if you feel a little froggy, other than hoppy, get your skateboard and take a try on it and see how you do. I've tried it. It's not that easy. So I want to thank everybody for their cooperation tonight and listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. From the chair, I just wanted to, Councilor McDonald mentioned it, but we are having an Arbor Day at Forestdale Cemetery on Saturday, the 28th of April, with a rain date of Sunday. It's from 11 to 2. And we are also, in addition to planting some trees in the cemetery, we're also having a scavenger hunt and an arts and crafts table. The planting of the trees will be overseen by a skilled planter, but we will need teams of folks to help put the trees in. So we're really excited about that and looking forward to it. So we hope you will join us. And before we go, if I can get this up. Here we go, folks. Ready for an announcement? After 7 terms as the Ward 5 City Councilor, it is with bittersweet emotion that I announce today that I will not seek re-election. This difficult decision is a result of many conversations between my family, my friends, and myself, and I'm not going to cry. During this time of reflection, we took a long look back from my first election in 2009 to the path that brings us today in this announcement. What originally drove me, I think is really important, into the public arena was the inspiration that I derived from outgoing Ward 5 Councilor John Furlong. Councilor Furlong was a passionate advocate, and he believed that the greatest impacts on a community were made by those who lived, worked, and raised their families here. This call to action led me to realize we all have something to offer for the betterment of our hometown. Despite being an unknown, and I mean an unknown in the political arena at that time, I was inspired to grab that torch and run with it. My goals and values remain the same today as they were back then. My fundamental role as a city councilor is to address the quality of life issues within our neighborhood, to nurture a sense of small town community no matter how big we get, and to serve the taxpayer with a fiduciary responsibility to keep the city financially stable and to set a tone that moves our city forward. For 7 terms, I have lived these values, from keeping July 4th and Pine Bank Santa traditions alive, as we all talking about events tonight, fighting to reopen Pleasant Street and revitalize our downtown, the building of our new city hall, Forestdale Park Senior Living, and establishing the Malden Community Gardens, which is a pet project of mine. We've paved miles of streets, replaced hundreds of water lines and lead lines, and planted hundreds of trees. Plus, I've overseen 13 balanced budgets. I am proud of the accomplishments and the experiences I have had in representing Ward 5 in our city. And while I'm not seeking re-election, I am certainly not leaving. You're not going to get rid of me. I will continue to be an active member of this great city, even as I step into the next chapter of my life. And here begins the chapters. As the next chapter of my life begins, so does the next chapter of Ward 5. The community that has let me realize my vision of a neighborhood steeped in hometown pride, the community that has passionately advocated for those values they hold dear, the community that has countless talents to offer for the betterment of Malden, is now faced with picking up the torch and carrying it into the next chapter of our history. To the next generation, I would like to offer some inspiration in the form of realizations that I've learned along the way. Serving as a ward councilor is an experience unlike anything you can imagine. You will feel pride for the problems you help solve, gratitude for and gratitude from the constituents you assisted along the way, a personal fulfillment in keeping the promises you've made to the residents, and the satisfaction of knowing you've utilized your talents giving back to this great city. You will make amazing friends and lasting friendships. You will quite simply realize that getting involved is up there with some of the best decisions you will ever make in your life. To my devoted husband, Jeff, and our sons, I knew this was the part that was going to get me. My sons, Jeff, and our sons, Jeff and Patrick, and their families, and my school committee counterpart, Adam Weldi, who I came into this with, and we're going out together at the end here. I could not have done this without your unwavering support and commitment. To the residents of Ward 5, I will be forever grateful to you for placing your trust in me and giving me the opportunity to serve you for the past 14 years. Please, please don't be afraid to pick up that torch and carry it forward. You won't regret it. I know.
You got through the whole thing without it.
I know, it was a tough one. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn by Councilor O'Malley, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor? Aye.